never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. Doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective, I'm the deepest in the cut. Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now. We know I ain't ballin' yet. Hoes wanna holler, oh no, I don't call them back. Girl, let me see you hold it down, we gon' have a blast. Cause I just wanna know what you gonna do with all of that. Ain't gotta say a word, I know what's up. You can have it all, watch me rip it off. I'll admit it, you got me feeling hella love. Even when it's going down, know that we gon' live it up. Young shot caller, always been a baller. Know that you the one, I can feel it in my heart. Yeah, I won't stop charging, we go and come harder. I can see you and I, way beyond the stars, girl. I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. It feels right.
Welcome everybody, it is time for Season 0 PlayVS College Championship featuring Fortnite. 9 weeks of intense competition resulting in the top 50 collegiate Fortnite duos who qualified for tonight's college championship, and it all goes down right now. $5,000 up for grabs. I am Sancho West alongside with Ozzy Antics, and we're going to be calling all the action. Ozzy, how you doing tonight, baby?
I'm doing very, very well. It's this morning for me, but I am so hyped. I've been looking forward to this for so long. The games are going to be incredible, so I'm very, very excited.
Absolutely, and you know what? Just like the song in that opening intro, everything feels just right, and this is a new Twitch channel at PlayVS. Make sure to follow twitch.tv/PlayVS for all upcoming awesomeness that's got to come back down the pipe. We have upcoming titles and, of course, opportunities to showcase your talent, and not only just in gaming but in also the gaming industry, and that's what we're here all about. But before we do all that, we got a college championship to settle, so let's take a look at the format. Ozzy.
Yeah, we're jumping in the format now as well. It's looking pretty standard, pretty simple for most. 10 is going to get you 2, top 5 is going to get you 2, each elimination is 1, and the victory royale is 3. Remember, this is a duos competition, so that is top 15 teams, not top 15 players. But yeah, pretty standard, old format, is awesome to follow, very, very easy. I'm so excited for it.
Absolutely, and we're just now gonna, you know, it all comes down to today. You know, $5,000 is up for grabs, and we're going to take a look at the rest of that pricing breakdown. First place is going to be $2,000, second place $1,500, third place $750, fourth place $500, and fifth place $250. Of course, it'll be split among the duos, but that is going to be a lot of cash going away just by playing Fortnite. So no doubt, Ozzy, I mean, regardless, earnings getting towards your collegiate and going into your pro career is very important to determine how well you're going to do the rest of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a title as well. This is just being able to know that you are the best. This is Season 0, the first PlayVS Collegiate final we have. Who's going to be crowned the winner? There is a lot of clout on the line as well.
I like that. Let's take a look at the players that we're going to have competing in today. And of course, they made it here today in a 9-week competition, Ozzy. And it wasn't easy. And there are a couple of standouts. What is your, looking at in the future? Who's going to be the one to beat in today's competition?
I mean, it's got to be Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. We saw them on the intro video. We saw them slaying out. I saw a 13-elim win just on Fuzzy alone. But yeah, they're definitely the team to look out for right now. But there's some other big names in there. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams that clutched up versus the teams that qualified through consistency, though. So Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty obviously clutched up. We have a few other teams up there that have clutched up as well. The ones I'm looking out for, though, the two players I'm scared of the most is Kurt on Expo and Dilly on Linear. They're looking like two crazy players. But we have Brick Alpha and Exponential as well, also clutching up a spot. They're looking pretty scary. So I think they're the main ones I'm looking for, but what's going to be more important, consistency or clutching your spot in 1 week?
I mean, but bottom line, we've been seeing throughout the entire competition, Ozzy, it's all about consistency. But this is college. This is collegiate. We have people from the University of Tennessee represented. We have the people of Central Florida represented. We got the University of Alabama, Arizona State University, and that's what I love, man. Madden's cool and all, but I love myself NCAA football, and that gets me hype. I wish we had we were in a LAN tournament and we had like a crazy band going off right now, a marching drum line or something, because that's what's really cool about this entire thing. These are collegiate players competing in today's college championship, and I'm excited to see what college team duo comes out on top.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw in Twitch chat, we don't have the marching band. We don't have, obviously, all the people yelling in the stands. But, I mean, I saw Twitch chat blowing up. I saw some people going for their favorites. I think there's a little bit of university pride out there as well. So, I mean, if you're here and same thing, maybe you haven't been following the players, but they're from your university, get behind them. Home team advantage. Let's see how they go. I'm pretty excited for it. But, yeah, so, again, we touched a bit on the format there, guys. A lot of these players have qualified either by getting the clutch spots, which means they came top 3 in one of the 9 weeks of qualifiers, or they qualified through consistency. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Which one's going to be more important? The team that dominated 1 week, maybe didn't do as well in the other weeks, or those teams that have been consistently placing every single week? What do you reckon, Sancho? What's your prediction? Who do you reckon is going to come out on top? A clutch or one of those qualifying spots?
I don't know, man. It's hard to go up against the Titans of Fuzzy Pickle, and it feels really weird to say that in a very serious way. Fuzzy Pickle and Sweaty McSweaty. I mean, but regardless, Ozzy, it doesn't matter what happened in those past 9 weeks. It all comes down to these games tonight, and we're about to get the battle bus going. So that's what it matters, man. You could do really well, but when the lights are on and when $5,000 is on the line, where every single elim and placement point matters so much, that is the continuing factor that I'm excited for to see. And that's what's really cool about casting Fortnite at a high level, is that who's able to the consistent matters of getting from game 1 all the way to the end. That is going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually this is one of the best qualification processes I've seen of almost any Fortnite tournament. It was quite a long qualification process. You had over 2 months worth of qualifying rounds every single week. You had a good process for teams that performed well to go straight through, but then also had a good process for those top teams to consistently place. So I think going into finals today, those teams that clutched up is one thing, but we see it a lot in open tournaments for Fortnite. Clutching up a spot when it opens and there's the player quality maybe isn't as high, it's usually plays that more aggressive play style. But then you get these finals where you have these players who are all incredibly solid. You can't run away with 22 elimination wins like I saw Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty do. I think it was in their first game of week 3. Like, that is an insane game to put down, but can you back that up and do that against the best of the best? That's the question.
Yeah, and of course it is a battle royale and anything can happen. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening at these, from what I've been told as we were prepping for today's event, Ozzy, that there's so many action right out the gate, because you talked about it. 9 weeks of competition. You get familiar with the competition out there. You get familiar with who lands where and where their loot paths take them. So we're going to be very excited to see what are those crazinesses happen. Again, guys, do not forget to follow PlayVS on all the social, PlayVS on all the socials you got out there, especially here on Twitch, and turn on those sweet notifications. And what's really cool before we get into the games is all this happened during basically where COVID-19 kind of broken out in the beginning of the season. This is why it's called Season 0. Started back in the beginning of March, and a lot of the players that registered were unable to compete, but they rallied together and they decided to keep playing the season because they wanted to have the competition there. And I think that's really cool, that not only that we're going to see this competition tonight, Ozzy, but this is the start of the relationship between Epic and PlayVS.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, PlayVS is an incredible first standing we have. Like, I went to university. I didn't have anything anywhere near as cool as this. Like, we had like little like dungeon corner like gaming rooms, and you could have like little tournaments. But like across the whole country, best of the best, bringing them forward, having it assisted by Epic, having that actual like relationship there. PlayVS, 100%. All shout outs go to them, guys. They are doing an incredible job. They're gonna have future titles going forward. We are saying season 0 a lot. That means there's obviously plans in the works for future seasons. So maybe if you missed out on this one, you do go to college, you're a player. Look it up, get in chat with them, get in contact with them, make sure you're involved. But I'm really keen to see who takes it home today. I'm so excited. Again, guys, I do a lot of Fortnite competitive commentating. The quality of today's games, I have very high hopes. I've been doing my research. These games are going to be awesome.
They're going to be awesome, and not just only at the high level college in terms of the D1, but community college as well. Shout out to Austin Community College, ACC, back home in Austin, Texas. I mean, I went to university myself, and my experience of just getting people to game is just playing with your dorm room open, and someone walks by and says, "Hey man, you want to play Smash?" And then here we are, we're just having a little tournament at the end of the night. But you hit the nail on the head, Ozzy. There are some high quality players, and I know in the FNCS it's solos, but it's really cool to go back to duos. It's kind of like a flashback in terms of what we have. And again, Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty qualified for FNCS duos, so that's why they're going to be very dangerous in today's format, and that's why they're going to be our top picks. But it wouldn't be a college competition without talking about people on the bubble, as they say, people that could do an upset alert. So who are some of the competitors who could upset Fuzzy Pickle and Stevie McSweaty?
We did some stats in there as well. Prodigy Analytics, shout out to you, ran a whole bunch of stats, and I've been reading through them. The main one I'm looking at for is TTV, Osiris AF, and Solotard. They're looking really good. Only reason I say them is because they came 39th on season points, which, like we said, usually it's around that top 50 that qualified through the season points leaderboard. They were kind of towards the tail end, but the weeks they played and the times they played, they were so consistent and phenomenal, but for whatever reason, they missed a few weeks. So the fact they were able to qualify through consistency while missing some of those, they're one I'm going to look out for. Maybe they had things on, maybe against study. These guys are college students. Maybe they had some major things on, but they had important things to take care of. Now they're going to go to business, and they're going to do it in the finals. So that's the team I'm looking for. There's a few other dark horses, but I think that's the one to look out for.
Yeah, those are the ones that have the opportunity to get the lion's share of the $5,000. And thank you for everybody at the twitch.tv/play versus. We're getting everything ready. I think the battle bus needs some gas. I mean, it has to fly across that big map. And season 2, it's kind of amazing how chapter 2, season 2, how the competitive scene has shifted. Ozzy, where do you see these duos kind of like the big engagements that will happen in the opening POIs?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, we saw it a lot on the weekend with FNCS. We saw it during Duo FNCS. Those mythic POIs are always going to have those high areas of contention because you want those guns. We're seeing as solos play out. They're a little bit stronger. If you get your hands on the drum gun, you're the only player with it. It's pretty brutal if you go up against the 1v1. Duos, they're strong, but not as strong. I'm thinking the drop that's probably going to play out. I've heard there's 2 phenomenal teams dropping on Misty, who I've been watching. That's looking pretty scary, but I think it'll be Grotto. I think the one gun that most people find the most oppressive in duos is that Brutus's minigun. If one of the good teams gets their hand on that, it's going to cause a lot of issues for the rest of the teams.
Yeah, not only in issues of hopefully not getting sent out of the lobby, but it just expending a lot of resources just to hold the ground against Brutus's minigun, which is one of my favorite mythical weapons to run around in the Fortnite world. But of course, we're getting everything geared up. Thank you so much. In the chat, let us know, who do you think is going to win as we're getting the battle bus ready to roll? It is time for game 1 of season 0's collegiate championship here, and there is all the competitors. A lot of people dropping out early, Ozzy. It is time to see who's going to get there. The most important part, Ozzy, I really believe in any competition, is game 1. That's the one that you want to get the most points on the board.
Yeah, who's going to set the pace? You can put the pressure on everyone else. I mean, once you have the lead, it's kind of hard to hold it sometimes too. A lot of these guys you touched on earlier, they've been playing week after week against each other. They know where they drop, so we can see some issues there. Maybe if teams contesting the team that's doing well, your playstyle is working. Let's see if it works for me. But that's the issue when we talk about those mythic POIs. They're the drops where people will change from their safer drop to go to a more aggressive drop to get those power items, to get those mythic items that then can get them a win. If you're going into game 3 and you're still on, single single-digit points and you need a big game, that's where you change it up, and it can really mess up players at the top. I'm going to be looking for if a team can come out in these first few games and get consistent high points from a normal POI, something maybe like Misty, Sweaty, one of those bigger POIs, they're the ones to be scared of, because it's so much easier to be consistent in those larger spots than if you're trying to drop somewhere like Agency and all of a sudden you have 3 duos dropping on your final game.
On board here with Young Wink, part of the University of North Texas, Big Mean Green, landing here in a not exactly a strong POI. The Disco, All Quiet is here, so of course all 50 duos are on the map at the same time, but it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of gear you land off of it. I mean, my experience playing in the type of these competition is that sometimes, as you mentioned a little bit ago, Ozzy, if you land in these spots, you get what you get, and that's it. And so that's going to be very difficult to walk out with a strong kit. And here we have Mackle here, just on the outside of the swamps, has himself an SMG and a pistol. But that's what I'm talking about. You cannot kind of be too passive, because then you're not going to have a great kit. And here is Fuzzy Pickle getting himself a nice starter kit as the elimination feed is lighting up, Ozzy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the part that got my attention is they have Steamy Stacks uncontested. This is a big drop. It's actually one that if people follow me or like you, my VOD reviews, or what I talk about on stream, I'm not the biggest fan of Steamy Stacks as a drop, only because it builds these really long, drawn-out interactions where people usually get on top of the Steamy Stacks and they'll hold the team that drops at the bottom towards these houses. But if Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty have it uncontested, they have a lot of loot, and B, a lot of mobility. You can use those Steamy Stacks, one of the only areas in the game right now that gives you guaranteed mobility. That means you can walk into those stacks, hit the air vent, and fly to the next zone. It just covers so much more ground quickly, and a lot of people will normally contest for that. But, I mean, we mentioned a few times, I don't want to keep harping on the same team, but obviously the rest of the lobby is respecting Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty, not wanting to drop on them at all.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting. I remember back in the World Cup days, Ozzy, is like everyone respected, you know, a certain, like, don't go to Westworld, right? That's what TP would be, and things of that sort. So I think that respect, though, gives that team a green light to dominate the lobby. And we do see an opening engagement, and that is Wink and his teammate TMZ. It's kind of like a little poke right there. You do not want to be right in the water. You don't have that much opportunity to build there. So it's a very interesting engagement we have right out the gate here in the Season 0 Play versus College Championship here featuring Fortnite. So I just find it very interesting that, hey, what was that engagement poke for, Ozzy? I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure there, but I was going to mention as well, we talked about like the quality of the players in here today. I believe this is Chenkins, and unless he has got the exact same name, this is the Chenkins that qualified for World Cup. So some of these guys have a very prestigious competitive Fortnite history. This isn't their first time in these tournaments. They've played for high stakes before, but yeah, bit of an interesting engagement. You find that east side of the map usually has these duos that are going for those scramble loot paths like you talked about. A lot less contested, but you kind of got to take what you can get, and that's why you'll see them muscling over, taking a few shots, seeing if they maybe get like an easy triple dink, a bit of a beam to take the fight. They unfortunately don't. So we see Chenkins and RBAM here looking pretty shambles. Their loadout's not looking the greatest.
Yeah, that is what Monster D-Faces says. They are right now the mayors of Shambles Town, and they're going to have to use a lot of resources just making up this mountain. Of course, we did take a look at the overall mini-map, and the circle is just south of Sweaty Sands, and that's going to be an interesting location. And as you see here, the Picks, the most dominant team out the gate, they have to make a long cross into the first circle here in the college championship. So yeah, you're right. They do have a team behind them, from what I remember, that's at the yacht. So they have to be mindful of that. But I looked at the map, and everybody seems to be spread out. And the only kind of engagements that we may have in this opening moments here is at the grotto. I saw a lot of teams at their grotto just chilling out. And as you called out earlier, Fuzzy's going to use that stack and kind of just glide on down. We can't forget to mention that slurp truck that's usually there, but now it's not there. So someone actually got used to that 100 HP boost. But now on board here with Noms, and there do see someone with the heavy, which did get a reduction in the damage output, kind of like a warning shot. And they're here in one of the henchmen safe houses, which houses the heavy sniper. But where do you see the heavy sniper coming into play, Ozzy, in duo competition?
It's going to be interesting to see whether this game plays out to Storm Surge. I'm not sure whether it's going to be like that. Right now, I mean, we've still got 95 players alive, 48 teams. There's a good chance Storm Surge comes out. So normally you see that Heavy Sniper used for those easy Storm Surge tags. Even though it has had a damage reduction, like you mentioned, 126 now, I believe, to the body, that's still a really good amount of damage for free if Storm Surge is going to be an issue. That's where we might see the team at Rig. I'm not sure who it is there, but they've got a massive advantage in these stack lobbies. That Boombo Heavy Snipe combo, trying to get Storm Surge tags is lethal. It's incredible. So we'll have to see how the heavy snipe plays into it. But again, we have these favorites like McSweaty. If the heavy snipe to the head, instant down, that's a big difference for a fight.
And they are, Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty are the Game 1 kings. We've been mentioning them a lot. Their Game 1 is legendary. Their Game 1 stats average 8th place, 3 wins, 6 top 5s. So much stat filler uppers there. That's why we're making sure that, hey, everybody out there watching in today's Plays versus Championship, pay attention to them. And we are seeing some elims are happening, but also we noticed that in these kind of matches, as the action is picking up here on board with Heights GV with his partner Crispy, and they got a crazy engagement here, Ozzy.
He's trying to make his way through if he can. Heights is on the back foot. He's got mini, he's got big pots. Needs to try and get them off if possible. Crispy cleanups his teammate, not looking too much better. It is a straight 2v2 fight here with, I see Akron, I think it's Amazing
right.
Kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the teammate is. He's trying to find his way in. It's slowing down a little bit. It looks like they're backing off. No, now they're going aggressive, but possibly a misplay. They mistimed their aggression. Heights had time to get that mini and that big pot off. So he's topped himself back up to an effective 180. Crispy cleanups looking the same. Maybe this is a fight they didn't want to take, but worth noting, in the bottom right, you see that other duo off in the distance. They're looking at this with keen eyes on it. Do we take some shots? Do we come through and clean up? They're not close enough to get drawn into the engagement if they don't want to, but they are close enough. If they see 2 players go down, made for one teammate knocked, they can get involved in this.
Yeah, so many resources are being used right now. University of Akron just raining down fire, trying to get into the University of Delaware. So we got a little battle right here. But as you see, just so much resources here, and they are kind of center. And there is the third party, Burrito, coming in hot with the spice, trying to get in some shots. And they're going to go ahead and use up that pad. And that is not a good use right there. That was a kind of a weird engagement that they had there, Ozzy. And they used a very, very important item in a launch pad to get away.
Yeah, I think you described it perfectly. It's the resources. They burn through a lot of maps. It looks like it looks like each one has about 87 builds left. When you have a maximum effect of 150, they've gone through almost half their builds and their launch pad. They still have one here on Akron, so I mean, maybe there's a good chance he might be okay, but looks like Burrito and Noms, like you said, bringing some spice. Burrito's following up. They had a good launch pad place here to hide in the bushes, maybe disengage, but I think the thing I want to comment on, these are some very experienced teams, very experienced. Like, it's only in FNCS finals you normally see this level of, let's take a fight, it's not working, disengage. I honestly see disengagements as one of the best signs of a smart player. If you're new to the game, it might look like someone who's not confident, they're just running away from a fight. But when you're in a fight with 2 other players that you know have qualified for finals and you have another duo pushing up on you, disengaging is one of the smartest things you can do, and it shows a lot of game experience.
Here we are at the Salty Springs here, and we got Pickle and Steve going up on Guabia and Kurt on Exponential, possibly.
Ooh,
Kurt on Exponential coming from the University of Central Florida, now back on board here with Bode, and they are eating a little bit of the storm as we're getting into the second circle. To see, this is what we're talking about. Is it going to be the time you take an engagement? It's usually not the best thing to do when you're sitting outside in the storm, though, Ozzy. You might want to hold off here for a bit.
Yeah, I think Stormfight's obviously never the way to go, but Storm Surge is going to have to be something these players are aware of. If a lot of these teams haven't been used to Storm Surge lobbies, you see the first game or two always play out really slow because people are too, like, maybe a bit jitters. First game, they're a bit like, oh, don't want to take a fight, but then that Storm Surge starts coming in. And again, if you're new to competitive Fortnite, I know some of you guys will be, Storm Surge, it's a bit complicated to explain, but it's basically a threshold. If you have a certain amount of players alive at a certain zone, the player who's done the least amount of damage will start taking damage from the storm. So you have to avoid being that place. You get chosen. As I say, though, Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty, the Game 1 legends, looking like they're not going to let it go down to Storm Surge. They want to get into a full-on engagement here, taking the high ground on top of Kurt on Expo. We also see 2 players in the distance, though. They need to be careful. They're on edge zone just outside Salty. This is an area with a lot of eyes on it. You can see already on your screen, I'm seeing 6 players easily within shot distance right now. So if they make this fight break out, they need to end it quickly. We come over to Chimerican inside the box, just finds his way out. This might be the first major engagement we see. 5 points down the bottom, so they've already picked up 5 eliminations. We're focusing on the Game 1 legends, but my gosh, this team going aggressive here. 5 eliminations already based on the move, and I think we're also watching a pretty aggressive controller player who's got that blue SMG in hand, ready to put it to work. But it looks like he's maybe going to slow down a little bit. Drops some shields for his teammates. Shots come out, opens up the edit. SMG coming out in the box. Triple 19 tag for Whites. Sebozzi, I think, back there is on low health. He's trying to disengage. This could be their 6th elimination when already there's only 11 players who have gone down in the entire lobby. To have 6 of them on 1 player is going to be ridiculous.
And they're putting
One
a
team.
lot of points on the boards, as you mentioned. They're hailing from Rutgers University, the Scarlet Knights right now, being our early elim leaders in this matchup, doing a lot of work there. But this is the kind of things you kind of want to avoid in these kind of fights here, Ozzy. When you're kind of getting into it, you're poking, you're prodding, and that time just wasted and sitting there, and the resources you have to use, they have to be mindful of that. Looks like Pickle and Steve McSweaty are making their way towards the woods area here, and they're a lot of free rotation that's happening right here. I'm kind of impressed as you see the Storm Surge is coming out, but I don't see them using a lot of resources getting into the circle, and I think that is is it a sign of respect? I mean, do they know these outfits that they're like, okay, well, let's not pick a fight with Fuzzy and Steve as we're on board here with Chinkins, as you mentioned, one of the World Cup qualifiers. So it's kind of interesting to see that Pickle and Steve are just getting to free rotation so deep into the circle.
Yeah, I think it's just, honestly, it shows just their caliber of players. I think they just have that game knowledge to know when they have to use their mats and when they don't. It's a pretty common tactic, rotating in behind another team in front of you. I say common, but it's very hard to execute. If you mess it up, that means there's a team in front of you right now who is closer to zone than you are, and they can turn around, see that you're using their builds, be very not okay with it, and start a high engagement. So I think it just shows, honestly, they can play that aggressive playstyle, pick up those elims, but I'm seeing a lot of endgame prowess and that ability to know how to get there, holding onto those resources.
Yeah, man, that's something that it's the discipline of being okay and being fine with getting sprayed down as you're making this transition. But as we're on now the north side of the second circle, it is Sweaty Sands here. We got Rhino and his teammate OG King doing their best, and they're using the technique of recycling. Now we're jumping right back to Weeping Woods, and there is the sound of the minigun railing down as Chinkins now is on the back of his heels trying to retreat back with his teammate. And that is the best thing you can do with the minigun, is just create distance. And Fuzzy Pickle and Steve, they're no doubt hearing the minigun out. But this is going to be an interesting thing. We did see a Weeping Woods in the FNCS be an interesting battleground for a circle, because all these trees allow our competitors to get refreshes. As we're taking a nice overview look here, Ozzy, the big watchtowers at play, as well as American and Zito, have the high ground in this section of the circle.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting zone only because, you have that refarm ability, but you also have the ability to take high ground and tarp out and hold it a lot easier. If there's a bunch of trees covering you from beneath, teams that are trying to knock you out, maybe with rockets, maybe with that minigun, it lets you hold high ground a lot easier. So it is a very interesting zone to finish off on. I hope it does go there, because we'll see those teams that have the ability. Cods and Brockery here trying to take their shots at close range. Running out of ammo, though. Look in the bottom. We have 14 AR ammo, only 9 SMG ammo. So I think Cods needs this fight. I know he's looking a bit weak, 75 wide heals. He's going to use the bandage cannons if he can. They need this impact frag. They need elimination. They're going to need ammo and a little bit of material and some shields. They're looking like they're struggling. Based on, they're actually below damage threshold for Storm Surge, so I think we aren't seeing it on screen, but they're getting hit with Storm Surge right now. They're trying to out-heal it. Cods is running very low, needs to get that flopper off. He only has half a second. Can he get it off? He does. He gets it off. So as you see, they are 36 below in the bottom right from Storm Surge, so they're getting hit for 25 damage every 5 seconds. So right now, they're on the back foot, as pretty much far back foot as you can get. They have to find a fight right now. So not only do they need the limb, they need it while they are taking damage constantly from an object or a target. They can't stop, and there it is. They go for the tag. They're still 38 below. Cos goes down. Brockery's on 3 health. I think it's goodbye to this team. That's it. That's going to be their game one. I talked about it earlier. Those teams that aren't used to managing Storm Surge are really going to struggle at the start.
And that is it, man. They're back into the lobby. The Banana Slugs from the University of California, Santa Cruz, getting ousted by the Storm Surge, and I've been on the other end of that in a competition there, Ozzy, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
You're doing your best to just survive, and all of a sudden a thunderbolt from the heavens comes down and blows you out. And speaking up from the heavens, Chinkies glides on in for a nice opportunity, looking for this rotation here, riding the storm line, gonna eat up some of these mushrooms here. But I've seen this technique done very well, Ozzy, where you kind of ride the storm line using the out of bounds area of the right side, so you don't have to focus too much on the entire 360 angle. You only have to watch what's ahead of you. But this is a very, very smart tactic to do to save your resources. But resources now are being spent in this fight, as God is now in trouble, and he has to do his best to evade the minigun spraying him from down below, and he's doing all he can. But Ozzy, all he has left is metal, and that's 25 builds. And he barely just gets away from that for a moment to breathe, to take those minis. But as you can see, Holly Hedges is being congested up right now as a of a lot of our competitors. We're taking a look over the map itself, and we're getting closer and closer to that half in, half out. We're about 2 circles away. But Ozzy, Holly is so congested right now. How do you see these teams getting out of it, especially if it goes out into the open?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you're going to hope for maybe the communal launch pad. There's going to have to be a lot of movement over on that side of the zone for them to get out of here. Chenkin's been held here. You said they were riding the storm. The one issue with that being is the team that's in front of you can hold you. They're getting held with a minigun now. But yeah, that Holy Hedges, if they don't get zone, if they don't... Oh, they kind of get zone. It's not too bad for a rotate, but it means that edge is going to be constantly congested as Chenkin's trying to fight his way back from this one. It's not looking good. 58 health, no shield, only has the med kit. He's getting shot in the back. His teammate's gone down, and he has 2 players, Skydrops and Nest, in front of him on full health, full shield, and they want this elimination. He goes in 47 tag, but it's not enough. Toe-to-toe 1 versus 2 is normally going to go that way. And look at the loadout. Skydrops and Nest are in such a good position, and they've cleared out all opposition around them on that side to make their next rotate. They're looking really good.
Yeah, Skydrops and Nest representing the Temple University. The Owls are in a good positioning for getting themselves a high placement here in Game 1. Of course, I'm looking at Fuzzy Pickle. No points from this legendary team. So they play for placement and they play for chill, but they are getting sprayed down a little bit. But you can see that they're very comfortable in being without any, but they have enough of the storm tags that we mentioned here to avoid storm surge. So they're kind of just waiting and waiting and waiting for in-game. And I think then you're going to see them pop off as usual. But taking a look here, look at their stats on the right side. They're Aussie first. There's so many things in first place, and I think this is where you're gonna see them open up, taking shots. And now we're on board here with Nordy and Laco here, taking a nice overview map. As of course, this is a circle that's between Sweaty Sands and Holly Hedges, and there's nothing but open field. So there's no water that to worry about, Aussie, and there's no mountain that these teams have to worry about. It's all about their builds here on out.
Yeah, definitely. Pulled out away from Weeping, like we said, so they're not going to have that tree cover. 197 above. They've done really well with their damage, so they actually have 0 eliminations, but they're 224 above on the Storm Surge, so they know how to get their Storm Surge tags safely, and they know how to avoid fights. You can see why they've been so consistent, and a bit of lobby manipulation here is a lot of people would like to call it Boba going down. A lot of players spraying the same enemy. This is either a free elimination you can get, maybe, gets you that point, also gets you a bit of Siphon, maybe some Storm Surge tags, but it also takes a whole duo out of the lobby. So if you can sit in your base and take some shots at the rest of the lobby, you're looking pretty good. As it looks like the teammate has to be abandoned, and Zergoif is going to make the rotate, and I think he actually makes it in. Maybe going to try and hold on solo for the rest of this game. And we just saw it was Steve McSweaty that got the elimination on his teammate, so that's their first elimination on the board. Seeing how they're transitioning their playstyle from that usual ultra-aggressive first game to now only getting their first elimination at this point shows they know this is the finals and they know how to play it.
And let's see how they play this next circle. It would be the half in and half out 5th circle. This circle is about to be, there it is, and they actually get close to it. It's not going to be that bad for them to go, but there it is. And for those of you who've never watched this level of play, at the 5th circle, half in, half out, the circle goes in and out of 50-50. Essentially, just look at it. Only 50 people are safe. The 50 side is going to be in that, but the rest of the lobby has a big pool. It's the biggest pool that they have to make here, Ozzy. So you called it out a little bit earlier. Communal launch pads will come into play, but I see that this team, Fuzzy Pickle and Sweaty, a little bit of luck comes their way as they're going to rotate in to the safe side of the circle.
Yeah, they only have to block from above. We'll see. They're going to have to still rotate through quite a few people, but you talked about that congested side of the zone earlier where Holly was. This half-half has gone the complete opposite side, so this is going to make or break those teams. We see a launch pad already coming out, Onordi and Lace making their rotate, and you see, look at the bottom right, everyone flying through the sky. There was at least 3 or 4 communal launch pads just used then. There's only 2 players left outside, and look how congested it is on this edge. There are players everywhere, on top of them, aside of them. I see Osiris gets elimination in the feed, one of the players I was saying to look out for, but then he also goes down. Fuzzy Pickle taking out my dark horse choice. We'll see how we go. The 2 main teams we've been talking about, but we've got 27 teams alive, 45 players, so it means there's quite a lot of duos still alive here. Actually, a lot of them, if they're going out solo, they're going down quickly, and they get such a big refresh. They get all those slurpfish. That was the duo that I said was looking stacked on the edge, and now it goes over to our favorites. They are in the absolute driver's seat right now.
I mean, you get yourself a complete refresh of mats. You get yourself the floppers and the slurpfish, and you're looking spicy here heading into the end of game 1 with a big bop right there. You're trying to sneak in, and Pickle says, no, you're not allowed to play the rest of the way, and they're going to keep getting more floppers, Ozzy. This is what I'm talking about, and they have a easy way into the next zone there. Let's take a look at the replay as we're seeing Fuzzy Pickle getting out the dark horse. He's going to see the edit real quick. Bang! Nice, simple window edit, and that's what you want to do, and you don't miss. And they have 2 points so far, but I expect them to rack up more points going into the rest of the game.
Yeah, look at the bottom right. They also get rotating zone. You said the furthest pull. Here it is, rotating zone now. And Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty get it. We have Nest here and Skyjoss putting that minigun to work. They have Midas. They might even have Midas's drum gun and Brutus's minigun. Even if it's just a normal minigun, this is now a team to look out for just purely because of the oppressive nature of their loadout. They're launch padding to front side of zone, looking like they're in a good spot. He's got such a good loadout. No shotgun here. Worth pointing out, Midas drum gun and burst rifle with 2 meds in the utility. I'm thinking we might be watching one of those insane controller players, so he's looking to probably frag out here. But how's high ground developing? We have Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle not prioritizing high ground, sticking on the mid ground layer instead.
So much activity above. Nice little tunnel right there, that triangle tarping, sending up the Pickle as he does sneak into another layer, gets a big bop in the back, gets dipped right out. Gosh. Fuzzy just sneaks right in and takes the tunnel. It's theirs now as Sweaty and Pickle are making their way through. 31 teams left, 21 teams left, 31 people left, and another one there, Ozzy. Just now they are turning it up, and the heat is on here for Pickle and Steve as they're working away and using the outside rotation here, Ozzy.
Yeah, that's incredible. Normally in that communication, you'd have one player split from the other player. Normally it's play for your life or get to me. No, Fuzzy Pickle's like, hey, I got 2 players in front of me. I'm just going to take them both out. I mean, it's easier to go through them than around them. Like, it's incredible. Little short pad here, but no, the short pad sends him straight up. Worth noting, he didn't take any of those fish earlier. He prioritized all shield. A beautiful little bunny hop, which he needed. I find that quite interesting, the Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. I'm guessing Steve must have the fish, but it doesn't matter because Steve goes down to Nesty and drops the 2 players I pointed out earlier with that oppressive loadout, the drum gun, the mini gun. This might be it for Fuzzy Pickles. If he can pull this back, it's going to be an incredible clutch. He's already getting those placement points. We're inside top 15 teams now, so they've gotten the first set of placement points. Just needs to hold on until top 10, and he might get even more. But we have Chimerican and Zitto on the high ground in the driver's seat on 20 points. 12 eliminations for Chimerican here, and 5 for Zitto. I'm sorry to keep going, but they have 17 eliminations, and we somehow missed it. They have flown completely under the radar.
They are flying high right now as he's sitting on top of the entire lobby, raining down fire, and they only have an SMG and attack, so that's the only thing they're going to ride. Chimerican only has 1 flopper, but he's getting so much damage on the rest of the lobby, and no one's looking up at them. So, you know, the stats don't lie, Ozzy. If you're in the high ground in the 8th and 9th circle, the chances of winning go extremely up. We're talking about 30 to 40%. So this is a great position for Chimerican and Zito. And it looks like the circle is going to go, I think they're going to go recycling over old builds. So this is going to be a great opportunity for them to continue to hold the high ground, Ozzy.
Yeah, this is incredible right now. They're on the high ground in such a good position. Oh my gosh, Rhino contested, instantly shut down. That is a massive pickup because now they've picked up the grappler as well, which is probably the biggest threat they had to losing that high ground. As you were talking about, it's such a good position. Having that grappler means you can take it at any time. Chimerican's out of builds. Let's see what he can do. Trying to break through here, applying the pressure. Needs to do something because he doesn't have enough builds to do anything now. Shots come out from behind. 14 eliminations, make it 15. He is racking them up right now. They have 20 combined eliminations. There are 3 teams alive, 4 players, which means it is a 2v1v1. It would be astronomical for them to lose this one at this point.
It could totally happen, though. Anything could happen, but the grappler is at play for Chimerican, and he's totally comfortable as another elim goes for Lace. So now it is just 2v1 happening right now. And this is, as you can see, Lace is right now just eating Storm. So no doubt, Chimerican and Zito may walk away here with a victory royale. It's all in the writing right now, Ozzy. I don't think Lace is going to walk away from this. I don't know if he has enough floppers to even feel that out, but it doesn't matter. No. Floppers be gone. The first win here for Chimerican and Zito, representing the University of Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights take away game 1 here of the PlayVS College Championship.
Over 20 eliminations. Game one.
Out of
Here I am
nowhere.
talking about out of nowhere. We're talking about, oh yeah, they're going to play it safe. They're going to play for endgame. This is the finals. Take it all out the window. They just ran away with it. That is such a massive lead going into this game. This point format has been known for having where if a player runs ahead with it, they can usually hold it pretty well. But that aggressive play style, if someone can go toe-to-toe with them, I don't even know. I'm blown away. Here we see the finish just dropping down, closing it out. It's a 2v1. There's no way they were going to lose that one.
No, not at all. I mean, I said it, you know, the high ground is king, and it's always will be king here in Fortnite. The stats don't lie. If you're holding high ground in the 8th and 9th circle, the chances of you winning are astronomical. Really great. Let's take a look at the standings after that game one. And it is Zito and Chai American coming in with 31 points. Rhino and OG King with 14. Anordi and Lace, 13 points. Crispy and Smarty, one of the dark horses that we had, with 12 points. And Ness and Skydrops, the Temple Owls, with 11 points. And there is the legends of Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty with 11 points. And it's quite interesting there, Ozzy, that their game didn't really pick up till the end game. And I think they got a lot of tags, but just not enough to get them in that top 5.
Yeah, and that's what this format is. It's the old school format. It's top 15, top 10, top 5 win. That's where you get your placements. So if you don't get to that top 5 win, you are really missing out. But first place being over double second place and then having 25 points on the top 10 is ridiculous. But it is anyone's game. We got enough games here for them to catch up. And we do have those players we've been watching out for that are consistent who could jump up there. I actually want to see maybe if we can get something from the stats team on where they dropped, because that'd be really interesting to see whether it's one of those drops that could be massively affected next game, or is it one of those safer drops? And I unfortunately see Osiris, my prediction of the Dark Horse, only on 1 point, maybe cursing a little bit, man. I'm sorry. I do have a tendency to do that, but it's only game one, guys. There's plenty for them to come back with. We see Arbum and Jenkins there at the bottom on 0, but it's anyone's game still. It's game one. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. That was a dominant performance, but maybe a flash in the pan. Can they keep it up? Pressure's on them now to hold that spot.
And it's interesting that we kind of talked about it, the mythical weapons coming into play. And we saw the Brutus's minigun, and we saw Midas's drum gun being a big factor of getting out of, getting Pickles and I can't. I'm sorry, it's Fuzzy Pickles, man. It's just I got to be a pro about it. It's just funny to say, but Fuzzy Pickles and Steve getting ousted by those mythical weapons. I mean, they couldn't withstand the pressure from those weapons. But we're seeing that. I don't know, man. I don't know if the mythical weapons will continue being a big factor, because Zito in them, they didn't even have anything until the very end with the grappler.
Yeah, in duos, you find it a little bit less oppressive, like we talked about earlier. If you're going up against someone, yeah, they have the drum gun, but it's still 2 versus 2. So the other player doesn't have a drum gun, and normally when it comes down to it, you got 2 shotguns aimed at them. It's way less oppressive, but it's still interesting to see those drops, because you walk away somewhat like with Agency, your center zone, you have guaranteed full health, full shield. It's not even just those the mythic weapons you walk away with. It's often the fact that you almost never walk away with a Shambles loadout, but we'll have to see how they play that one out. And I mean, I've got to commend you him, Sancho. You've been killing it with the college names and everything. Like, I'm so sorry. I've been to America a few times. I loved it. I went to college for a little bit there just with friends, just to experience it. It was incredible, but I'm completely ignorant to all of that. And I must say, the speed at which you're pulling these out is incredible.
I thank you, man. I of course, your game sense is just insane, off the charts. But and enough with the compliments. But let's compliment these players that are doing really well. It's interesting. It's going to be a juxtaposition, because I've been in these competitions before when you have a game plan and going into it, you know your POI, you know your loot path. Do you see any of these competitors changing that up, considering that there's a lot of people with 0 points, and seeing that big goose egg is a big factor in how you approach the rest of the tournament?
Yeah, it's hard, because often when you do these online qualifiers in those tournaments, you have skill-based matchmaking come into things. So normally when a team has this insane pop-off game, they then start versing harder players later. But these are custom lobbies. It's all the same team. So there's no reason why they couldn't just do it game after game. But as we saw, even going way back to World Cup, I mean, I remember the final game, Booger, all of a sudden 4 people are dropping at his drop. It can get a little bit weird of people, whether it's they want to take out the big dog, maybe be on camera, or whether it's a strategy of whatever they're doing is working. If I take them out on spawn, why can't I do what they did? I don't know what it is, but you do see some weird stuff happening final games, especially when you have a team that's that high up on the leaderboard. But, I mean, that many eliminations, I want to see who can go toe-to-toe with them. Apparently, at least 10 full duos in that game couldn't go toe-to-toe with them, so I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they went in the first POI and how their loop path, but they just mowed down the entire lobby, and I think they were running around Weeping Woods just freely doing what they do best. And again, the high ground take at the end is, of course, we're waiting for the next battle bus to leave the lobby island, so to speak, and then we're gonna head out to the Big Dog Island and see where all it goes out. But yeah, man, again, for those of you out there, this is just season 0, and there's gonna be other seasons getting ready for the rest of the Play Versus. So be sure to visit playversus.com/college if you want to see what's happening around the scene for you guys. And again, it's not just the big dog colleges, it's also you go to the community level as well, and that's where Fuzzy Pickles and Steve McSweaty are from. They're from a community college, which is totally cool. I mean, you get credits and things like that. They're from Kirtland Community College, home of the Firebirds. So like I said, I mean, there is no a secondary education or after high school education. That's what's really cool about this entire thing, Ozzy, is that esports is now becoming a part of their academic careers.
Yeah, and Fortnite themselves as well. Like shout out to Epic. I mean, comp has come back in a big good way. We have competitive tournaments back. We have official broadcasts. We now have things like this. Like, the amount of tournaments we have of this caliber is incredible. So, I mean, I want to, obviously thank PlayVS, but also Epic for supporting this. It's incredible. And just to have something like this when you go to college, right? Like, the fact that these players as well, shout out to them, can perform at this level while still going through a college education. I mean, maybe it was just me. University for me was a struggle. Like, maybe I wasn't as good with trying to prioritize my time. I was playing a lot of video games, but it was either really good at video games or do well at study. The fact that some of these players have qualified for World Cup while still going to college and keeping their skills at this standard, that game by all levels was stacked. That was such a good competitive standard there. So it's incredible to see this happening. And I mean, obviously as well, PlayVS, if you're here from maybe Fortnite isn't your main game, PlayVS is also branching into other games in the future, other titles. So it's not all just Fortnite love for Fortnite, but there is still plenty to come with Fortnite too.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to come here, and that's what's really cool as well, that Epic has big plans to grow the competitive Fortnite scene, as you mentioned a little bit before about the official broadcast coming back, but the way they're supporting the academic levels as well. So there's going to be other Fortnite tournaments and leagues supporting grassroots academic initiatives like the Play Versus one in the competitive space. And this is basically setting the stage for students around the world to be part of this movement. So it'd be really cool to get a collegiate World Cup. Who knows if that's going to happen down the future. But for me in college, bro, if Fortnite was out there, I don't think I would have graduated at the time. So I'm really thankful that technology wasn't as big in my collegiate career. I mean, like I said, most of it was just indoor championships, but now we have people playing for World Cup championships here. But again, we're getting ready, getting all the ducks in a row here for the battle bus. But very interesting to see. What do you think, really quickly, is there going to be a change up in the top half of it?
I think there's going to be a lot of change up in the top half. I can't see that first place being beaten for at least another game. They pick up a few points, they're going to stay in first. And they're going to have to throw pretty heavily now to fall out, at least for the next few games. But we'll see how we go. We're going to throw it into a break before we jump into game 2. So we're going to see how we go. Sancho, see how we go, mate.
Let's take a break. Hey everybody, we are back. Thank you so much for waiting. We're getting game 2 ready to go, and it is about to go down. Ozzy, let's go ahead and get on the battle bus and see who's going to walk away as the game 2 winners. We do have so much more action here. Thank you so much for tuning in, twitch.tv/PlayVS. But here we are, and everybody is gliding into, and let's see who's going to be able to take Chai American and Zito and take them off the #1 spot so far. And here we are on board with Abraham and Jinkies, and this is looks like they're going to the same spot that they landed in game 1.
It looks like they're going to try and play to that. I don't know how it went game 1. I'm pretty sure I saw them on 0-1 points, but same time you got to stick to your guns, know your zone, know where you're going, know your play style. It's only game 1, not enough to change things up massively towards those final games to see how they go. But here it is, Chimerican and Zito. Okay, very interesting to note there. They do drop Weeping Wood, so that could have been a massive advantage for them in last game, and one of the main reasons for their success. The zone was so close to them, but I like this drop. I talked about it earlier. If you can see a team that comes out on top and they're not dropping an insanely contested POI, I don't see players thinking, hey, I had a rough first game, let's drop now Weeping, you know? They should be all right with this one. And we see some stats on the left being brought in. In game 1, Zito and Chimerican had 21 elims and 31 points. Their previous best was 14 points and 9 elims in a single game. So at the same time, that was a very outstanding performance for them. So maybe they can't pull these off regularly, and that was just a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, when the lights are on, you just got to show out, and you got to full send and do what you do best, and that's what they did. I mean, and I said so before, and it doesn't matter, fall skirmish, summer skirmish, all the other competitions, if you have a monster game 1, shout out to Monster D-Face, you get a monster game 1, you have an opportunity to do best. And as a rocket launcher goes in to say hello, doesn't get any kind of HP hit there, but Rhino with 14 points, and his teammate there, OG King, they were there at the end game. They were unable just to get that victory royale that they're sought after for, but here they are in Pleasant Park. Pleasant Park is one of those old school POIs that made a comeback from the first chapter. Here it is in chapter 2, but of course there are a lot of changes, a lot of little tunnels and pathways that you could use to get to the underground henchman area. And I like landing here in Pleasant Park, especially now with the changes in the squads. It's really fun to come here, and especially you could walk away with the helicopter, of course. Helicopter, the chopper, not available, as we do see some action here outside of the, I guess, modern is what they like to call it. It looks like it's going to be one of those slow. No, never mind. The C4 blast comes out here, Ozzy, and now we have King in the full retreat trying to get that high ground retake. Nice cone right there. Now he has it, but he's going to get the attention of the rest of the Pleasant Park POI competitors.
Yeah, needs to do something big. He has 1 build left on the high ground. The rocket doesn't connect. We have the 2 players on low ground trying to get away. It's going to be an interesting fight. They need to take it. Rhino going for one side. Looks like they're going to try and initiate a bit of a pinch. 1 player going from one angle, 1 going the other side. OG King needs to be careful, though. If they open up that edit, that's 2 barrels looked out at him versus 1. Then my teammate goes for the split. Looks like Rhino gets a fair bit of damage onto both of them. Rhino with a perfect pinch. This team is playing this 2v2 so clean. They keep splitting the angles, splitting the sides, going on every single angle, and they have no idea what's hitting them right now. That was one of the cleanest 2v2s I've seen from Rhino and OG King. They just kept taking attention on one side while the teammate would take a wall on the back and then just unleash on them.
And that is why they're second place. But look, the third party's here, but they're by themselves. Be very dangerous to take this fight here. It'd be very interesting how it happens between Vixie and SK Cuss here. But they don't know. They don't know here. But yeah, King and Rhino take the high ground, and they open up this engagement. That was kind of very interesting there to sit there out in the open there, Ozzy. But of course, this is second place, already walking away with 16 points total. But Cuss does go down to King as he's trying to make the retreat and do the single tarp here. But I don't know what's going on with Vixie trying to be a cheeky guy and hide right there. But now we have a build-off that's happening. But I don't think the resources are going to be in Vixie's favor as King just obliterates him and take... Well, no, he's still barely alive. But you might as well be dead because you're avoiding the inevitable. And there is that elim right there.
I think they opened that up with, I'm pretty sure that was a heavy snipe to the body and then the final finish up from OG King or Rhino there. So one of the players there, I'm pretty sure landing a heavy snipe shot. So that was a very clean engagement of Pleasant. They now take out both teams, get all the loot. And one of the main interests there is that heavy sniper. We talked about it coming into last game. It has been adjusted recently. So a lot harder to get that one-shot body shot of the 150. But the headshot's going to be a one-shot either way. And the ability to instantly break a wall always opens up a lot of chances for you in fights in the mid to late game.
And they are still sitting right behind this first place. Well, and actually, this duo is in the top 10, I believe, as Pickle and Sweaty. They need that pop-off game. They have it in their caliber. Of course, the team that we just saw was in second place, Fuzzy Pickle here. And they kind of left their POI pretty early of the stack. So I think they're going to see themselves being a little bit more aggressive this time around here, Ozzy, as they're going to make their way towards the orchard and eventually to the farm. But they don't have as strong as kit as they did before in the first game.
Yeah, they have one elimination, so maybe got contested at the stacks and needed to leave. I'm not sure, but we have Berkey here and God trying to find their way through. God looking a bit weak right now, has no shield and not even full effective health, so the other team seems to disengage out of Misty. This could have been a Misty engagement. It's an interesting drop. It was one that I saw a lot of people in chat telling us to watch out for before the stream went live today. It's an interesting drop because it splits straight down the middle with that lake. So you have a very lineated, this is your side, this is my side. But if you start to need those eliminations, maybe you're having a slower first game and you need some points, it's not out of the realms of possibility to just simply push across. And it looks like that's maybe what happened to God here in Berkey.
Back to Pleasant Park here, Rhino and OG King. Look at their stats here. Second place in wins, season totals 451 points in that 9 weeks of competition. They have 270 elims to their name, and their best placement was first place in week 6. So they got a little hot near the end, so I no doubt they're clicking on all cylinders, but they do have a big deficit to at least get to first place in the with Chai American. It'd be interesting to see where they are at in terms of the rest of the map, as Chai American does pick up an elim, and they picked up 2 elims in the feed, so they're keeping up pace. Fuzzy Pickle here does not spot that player in the bush. It's interesting when you see in the high level play. Maybe now he gets the inclination,
yeah, he knows.
the spidey sense,
the
but he
heavy
gets
snipe.
beamed right in the chest right there. It takes so much damage. Luckily that was not a headshot, or they would have went down. Fuzzy Pickle has to retreat and box up here as Nanalo hanging out on the high ground, but he's getting beamed from the partner there of Steve McSweaty. He's gonna go ahead and do a nice little knockdown of that builds, and now it's a big fight right now between Nanalo and Pickle. I don't know where Nanalo's partner is, but Pickle and Steve are now collapsing on top of them, and you're gonna see the nice little bully box play between the two. Nanalo is not boxed up, and that means it's a green light for Steve and Nanalo, and they pick up that 1 point elim right there. And as I said a little bit earlier in game 2, I think Fuzzy and Steve realized they kind of played game 1 a little bit too passively, so you're gonna see them pick it up here, Ozzy.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling maybe the fact they already have one elimination and then that was a solo player, that could have been the teammate of the first elimination they got. Maybe a launch pad to cover that distance since they dropped the Steamy, but I have a feeling that could have been the finish of the one elimination they already got. Maybe a team that dropped on them and they were like, hey man, as much as we want an aggressive game, we don't want you dropping on us, so we're going to hunt you down, because this is a 5-round tournament. So how you play your drops will affect the rest of your tournament. If you're super aggressive on a duo that's trying to drop on you out of nowhere, they're going to think, hey, that was game 2 right off. Let's not go back there. Those guys are psychos. Game 3, 4, 5. Let's drop on someone else.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier. The circle is now still Sweaty Sands and Slurpy Swamp. So that's going to be a good benefit for Chai American and Zito, as they did so well because the circle was near them. So you called that out earlier. Let's see if that works out again for them in game 2 here with cleanups here from Grandview University, home of the Vikings. Let's see if they were able to get a little bit away, but they're trying to get for free rotates, as Monster says, and Crispy cleanups gets a little bit crisped up there. It's going to have to use some of his minis there. Cam, they were kind of had that little bit of moment where they're kind of jockeying for position, and they were like, hey, Cam. Cam says, you're not going to be able to get away from us for a little bit. You're going to have to use up some of those minis, but that's one of those engagements. That's what's known as storm tags, as they say, just to keep them away from that storm surge that inevitably caused so much damage in the opening round. And just to let everybody know out there, we have 3 Spartans and 3 Pegasus from the University of Central Florida and the University of Michigan State here represented here at the College Championship presented by PlayVS featuring Fortnite. But that's what's awesome, man. I love it, man. I'm telling you, dude, nothing like a good old drum line. But here we go. More action here, Ozzy.
Yeah, more action breaking out now. We have AZN and Bode here. They've got 1 elimination so far today, and that was their first points. That's their first 2 points on the board. So big elimination for them. Their first fight they've been able to capitalize on, and they walk away with a really clean loadout. And we see an interesting fight going out here. Looks like Mike and Carpsy are out in zone behind Beasting and Duke. Are they in builds? Am I not seeing something here? I don't think they're in builds. I just don't think Beasting and Zook see them. Have they gone down and the nameplates are still staying? No, they're there. They're just hiding, not moving. I was so confused there of what that fight was, but no, Carpsy and Mike trying to take that standard. I instantly think of Guardians of the Galaxy. I can stand so still that I am invisible to the naked eye. And apparently it's working for this duo. They're going to sneak in by just not moving.
Hey, you know, nothing goes over their head, dude. They have fast reflexes. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Of course, the MSU, Michigan State Spartans, just riding out the storm, being storm riders right there. And we're on board here with Duke from Ashland University. The Eagles right here, keeping the Spartans out in the side. They do have some dominant positions here over this duo. They're not taking any kind of shots there. They're looking like they're not taking any kind of engagements. But McSweaty and Pickle are, and they're picking up the business as they're looking for more elims, and just outside of Risky Reels, and they have to cross the river. It's not going to be a big time engagement. They do have a pad, but more importantly, we're seeing these game one legends, as we call them in the studio here, in their remote studios, or fancy word for that, trying to look for some more elims. And now we have Toast and Dream and a bit of a pickle themselves here, but they are luckily above the storm damage of 95.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that. Yeah, Pickle goes down in the feed. Capelor taking down Pickle. I don't know how that broke down so quickly. These guys are camera shy. I swear we watch them, nothing happens. We go off them, and they either wipe a whole duo or they go down. And Steve McSweaty in a bad spot as well. He's being held on the edge. And you see how many duos there are. There's one duo even deeper in Storm than behind them. So this edge right now is very congested. There's a lot of teams here. Steve McSweaty going deeper into Storm, trying to stay behind these builds. You can see their experience here, trying to throw the teammate behind the builds to keep him covered. But you see Capelor pushing forward. He's not going to be able to find it. No, he's looking for it, but he can't see it. They've taken too long to capitalize. And Steve McSweaty getting Fuzzy back up. That's a huge pickup. This is only a single tick Storm right now, and they have a 1 minute and 8 seconds to get in. And it's not too far to cover. We go back to the fight we're watching the first time. Damage breaking out. We have Skeptic and we have Toast right now inside this box. Probably not the Skeptic you're used to, but we have IE dead, and he is well and truly downed right now, though. And we have Stella trying to push back and hold it down, maybe in the 1v2.
1v2 situation, but the third party kind of evens that out. But Toast is still beelining his way, doing his best to look for that down opponent. He does able to get it. They're trying to alpha their way into it, but Dream goes down. What a nightmare situation, thinking you have the upper advantage, and one of your teammate goes down. So it's now up to Toast to get out of the way and do his best to grab the crumbs. How many puns can I say with this team as they're going in? But it doesn't matter. Oh. Down he goes. Toast is out of the competition.
Toast gets toasted.
There you go.
It was interesting, but it was, I know you had to leave one easy one for me. I swear I'm not as good as this. You guys, I'll get there. I'll stick to the analysis. You can stick to the puns, but we have them.
That's what they brought me here for.
That revive, though, like, I can't believe he actually Stella got the revive off there on dead. That's a massive misplay for Toast. If you have a 1v2 advantage, you've knocked the opponent, you're inside full builds or a house, so third party's not really that much of an issue. To not have the confidence to push forward and take down that other teammate in a 1v2, that spells disaster for that team going forward, in my opinion. They really need to be like, hey, I earned my spot here. I either qualified through clutch or consistency. I'm as good as these guys. I can go toe-to-toe with them, because there's not many signs of lack of confidence in a toe-to-toe fight than that. Speaking
of toe-to-toe, the action is still happening. We have a toe-to-toe build-off right here with Mackle, Speedy, and Nordy and Lace. And Nordy and Lace placed really well in game one, so they may go down early before getting into mid-game to end-game. But Nordy down to the whites, as they say, with no shield, and now down on all fours. And Lace with no shield, getting third party, and he has Speedy and Mackle. Can Mackle and Speedy take advantage of Nordy being low? Nordy goes down, and Lace is out. What a
so close
play
there. The heavy snipe down, and 3 tack shots not being enough to finish him. Maybe a bit of glancing blows, missed them there. But yes, like you said, Nordy and Lace were going into this game on 13 points in third place. So having them thrown out of this now, if Rhino and OG King don't pick up some serious points, that's just even better for Zito and Chimerican. And then we have Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty also on 13 points contesting them. And no, they pick up the fight. I think you called it here. They're getting aggressive. Steve especially having 4 and all of their eliminations. Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty saw that, was like, hey, if Zito and Chimerican can do it, we did it every other week. Let's go back to playing how we play. Let's not treat this like finals. Let's run at some players.
You can look at center zone right now as Abraham and Chinky all in a bit of a trouble here. We've seen a lot of duos almost down but out, but they were able to bring back everybody. Zito is now on the feed, so that team is still alive. But yeah, I mean, Pickle and Sweat and Steve are doing their best to trying to close that gap of where they were. But just taking a look at the overall map as the storm is closing in here, it's almost a repeat of game 1, Ozzy. The same kind of thing.
It's almost identical.
It's very identical. So let's see. Hopefully, game 3 mixes it up out there. Circle gods, but not a lot of change from game 1. So let's see if the outcome is different there. If Chai American Zito could be this Circle's gods, as that is not where you want to be. And down goes Carpsy from the Michigan State University, and Pickle and Steve finding another Elam to add, and they're just keep racking them up back on board to that minigun situation. No. And Asian and Brody go down as Trigger from Akron University from Ohio. LeBron James represented out here. You can't get away from LeBron James. He's everywhere. But yeah, man, this is going to be interesting to see where this circle pulls for our competitors. And it may be a deja vu for everybody, as Osiris is still alive. Your dark horse still around, but last time they tried to get into one of those circles, Ozzy, didn't work out for them last time.
Yeah, definitely. They're in a good spot now, though. They're above them. Acu is down there. They've got a really, really good position. And we have top of the class currently in 4th. Jar Crispy and Smarty were one of the only 4 teams to place first in a weekly qualifier in week 4. They're also the only team to score at least 1 point in every game they played during qualifiers. That's an incredible statistic. That's the kind of statistic that in the Fortnite competitive scene, I would normally liken to edgy and centered. During all weeks of their FNCS games, there wasn't a single game they didn't drop at least 1 point. That is incredible. There wasn't one game where they dropped and went down on spawn, or one game where they had an uncontested spawn and didn't at least get a elimination in the mid game. Sorry, that shows incredible consistency, and it looks like they have a game plan that works. So one to look out for sure.
Also looked at the kill feed, Elim feed. It looked like our Chai American and Zito are maybe out. Zito at least out. And then, of course, you mentioned Jaspy and his partner. One of them went down, so your curse still continues, Ozzy, throughout the entire day. Let's see if it continues on as we're on board here with Derpy and Dylan. Derpy and Dylan here making their way out of Weeping Woods, now going right over that little lake house that you see right there, the baby lake. So it's gonna be, of course, all fishing spots are way gone by now, but it's gonna be interesting to see who takes advantage of that heavy snipe. Bang! Ooh. 300 ping, doesn't matter. Down you go as Dirt picks up a knock with the heavy, but he's not able to clean that up. But they're doing their best to get that. Osiris and his partner are now being hunted down by Derpy as they're gonna continue on and pushing through with the minigun. And there is a bird's eye view from the third party. It's Nom Noms looking for that third-party piece of the pie here, Ozzy.
Yeah, Nom's just trying to look for it. He has that heavy sniper in hand. It's so scary in this spot. He's got this whole wall open. It's not like his editor just hasn't placed it. Takes the instant shot on the tree to give him more angles. He's in such a commanding position right now. With that heavy sniper in hand, even the epic AR, the fact that he can leave a whole wall open and have this many angles on the lobby, and there it is, the epic AR. Like I said, doesn't even need the heavy sniper. I think he just did more damage than a body shot heavy sniper anyway. Lethal, precise aim on that one. We have Arrow and Clork going for the launch pad. I don't know if that minigun actually broke the launch pad, and Burrito, no, I'm sorry, just taking him out of the sky. It was a no-fly zone there. He had the wall open. He had everything, and then Burrito coming in and getting a piece of it as well. They have one elimination. They're just going to keep holding these teams beneath them. They were on the absolute tower there. That's an impressive spot to be in. And everybody going down around them. It
kind of reminds me of a Tfue and Cloaksy, you know, how they're sitting out there, then two buys really high, just picking on everybody and gatekeeping, making sure, catching people on the launch pad, and right there. Like ooh, almost get that heavy. Ooh. But yeah, the University of Indiana, the Hoosiers, getting those nice knocks on the people with the pad. And we're taking a look here. There's a lot of people going for high ground early, Ozzy. They may not work out for them going for high ground this early in the match.
Yeah, you have to hope you get zone if you're going to go the high ground that early. Only 38 builds. This is a massive mistake, I'd say, for Chang and G-Strap. Maybe they have something they can pull back. I'm not sure, but Strap and Chang going for high ground a little bit early. They're going to need a massive impact frag, but they get half-half. So as we say that, they could have the high ground here. They don't really have the builds to tap in the whole way for rotating zone, but if they can use this to get a few eliminations and drop down, that still could be worth it.
Could be worth it. They do have a lot of flops. Derpy is still on a tear with his teammate Dylan. They're just racking up, man. They're using the Brutus minigun back on top view here. Chang does get a elim as well. Catching the high ground seemed to be fruitful for racking up elims here. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets going at it. singing the entire lobby as best as possible, trying to get those 1 point on the board frags. And they did get one right there, and as you're looking over this, so I'm expecting the whole lobby. I think what they're doing, Ozzy, is they're hoping that the lobby does build for them so they could just recycle a lot of the lobby's builds and just work over everybody. But they have to be careful. Here comes another person flying with a launch pad. They do get one early tag. Shots ring out. Milano is able to drop right below. And now there's so much more opportunity, and they do have ultimate high right now, Ozzy.
Yeah, it was worth pointing out too. Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty just took Rhino and OG King out of there. So you have two of those teams at the top. Rhino was the one team that looked like they were going to be able to contest the first place, but then they get taken out by Fuzzy Pickle and Steve, which for them is a massive pickup. I think they were hovering at about 3-point difference. So getting 2 eliminations on the team that's just around your points is massive for them. That's going to shake it up huge. So we have to watch Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. Can they close the gap on our first place team, or are they going to stretch it out even more?
Closing the gap with the rocket launcher, knocks down our high ground contenders of Chang. They knock them off. We didn't see a lot of the rocket launcher in play last time, and I think it's because of a lot of the action was near Weeping Woods. But now we're out in the open, and I'm expecting some. Here comes a pad to all themselves, and here is our first polling circle here. It's going to be very interesting if they go to the front end or back end, Ozzy. But this is circle 6, and it's our first rotating. And let's see where it all ends up. And they were able to get a nice little section here to themselves.
Yeah, right now, trying to look at it on front side of zone. The one name I didn't actually see there was our first place team. I didn't see Zito or Chimerican there somewhere in the lobby.
I think so.
I think they're out of this game, so they're gone. That is that. They're out of here. So that right now, this is going to be Steve McSweaty. Oh my gosh, and Fuzzy Pickle's game to close out. This is the position they want to be in. Everyone that's around them right now is out. They can close this gap. I think you coined it best. Their game 1 strategy didn't work. They changed it up, and their game 2 strategy is working. We saw how good the high ground played out for Zito last game, and now they're in the driver's seat, and Zito's got to just sit back and watch this and just see how many points they could potentially rack up right now and close that gap on them.
I'm surprised that they're getting away with that single tarp over, as you see as Chang goes down, the yellow jacket getting swatted by Steve McSweaty. But it's interesting that they're able to take this high ground without even being looked at right now. We do see a couple of teams trying to get the retake, but Steve and Pickle are doing what they do best, but out goes the pad, so you have to be careful. But I think they were able to block it. And let's take a look. Let's see. I do hear a lot of gliders, but yeah, they blocked it really quickly. So very nice game sense between Pickle and Sweaty.
I think to answer your question there of how no one's taking it, I saw Fuzzy Pickle when he came up to drop the mats, he pulled out that rocket really quickly, and I think that's going to be the difference. They have the rocket. It's such an oppressive weapon on high ground to just drop on second height. Anyone who looks like they're going to look at you, if someone looks up and builds in your direction, rocket straight on their head will push them instantly back down. You need to take high ground, but you got to take it with the weapons to hold it. And I mean, his AR is looking like the weapon to hold at this point. He is beaming players in this lobby. 23 points, 9 eliminations for them, and beautiful tarping. Going to low ground, though, Strip on low health. He has 2 mythic weapons. He has the drum gun, Sky's AR, and the grappler. If Strip goes down here and that grappler doesn't get picked up, that will be even bigger for Steve on the high ground, which looks like maybe... No, he gets through on 8 health to hold it out, but he can't take high ground. That's another threat to our high ground team. And Fuzzy Pickle picking up 2 eliminations in the feed. I think they're going to close the gap. I was saying they're not going to lose their lead for 3-4 games. I think after game 2, Fuzzy Pickle and Steve might come out on top.
At the end of the day, consistency is what matters, and that's what Steve and Pickle do, is they're constantly putting down so many frags in the lobby. Nice elim again, and that was a big refresher. Look at that. They were able to now have 67 builds, and I think you said it best. It is their game to win. They cannot let it slip through their fingers as they're continuing raining down on the rest of the lobby, sitting comfortably on top.
Yeah, we see Jenkins down there as well. So the player we talked about making World Cup, some of that competitive prowess coming out now is made top 6 teams, top 10 players alive. And what that tells you is there's actually quite a few duos still left in this. There's not that many solos. We saw the player with the grappler on low ground. He's playing it out solo. Then we have Fuzzy McPickle and Steve McSweaty pushing through. There's Jenkins. He has his teammate with him, Arbam. Thank you for the spectator team getting to see everyone's loadout. That grappler did get handed over, so they could end up losing this one with the grappler. Jenkins on low ground. Looks like he might be able to pick up 2 eliminations or guaranteed 1. He has the ability to shake things up right now. That grappler is what you're looking at. 16 build, and a grappler is more than enough to take this high ground and upset it. So it's going to come right down to the wire. This isn't just Fuzzy McPickle and Steve's game. On high ground, versing a team with grappler, it's nowhere near as strong. Jenkins on the back foot, having to use the mini to keep himself alive on the low ground. Needs this edit. Players hiding in Storm, gets one elimination, sets up for the second as well. Can he find it? He's rotating back around, needs to go back through the bush, and no, he goes down. Steve McSweaty on above, dropping the rockets and breaking up this whole build fight. It's going to come right down, and Steve's alone though. Fuzzy McPickle's gone down here. Toasty going for the late high ground retake, and he gets dropped out there. Goes down to 4 damage. Steve with the AR knocking him out. Dream CK's on the low ground. Here it is, we get to see it from his perspective. Just drops him out. That's all it took. And now it's a 1v1. 34 points. If they win this one, it is going to be within about 3 points at the top. And there it is, the RPG over the side. Steve picks up the win. That is ridiculous. There is no way a team dropped over 20 eliminations game 1 and then game 2, they might not be winning. What?
I mean, that's how fast it could happen in these kinds of things. Is out of nowhere, Pickles and Steve McSweaty just showed up, and it was just like the final boss. He just all of a sudden just pulled out the rocket launcher and just able just to decimate the rest of the lobby. Just that game sense of knowing Ozzy to hold on to rockets to the least possible instinct where you're low on builds, and that's exactly what happened, and Dream got snuffed out right there. Let's take a look at the updated standings that we have here for game 2, ladies and gentlemen, and it is Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty taking that top spot away from Zito and Chai American, just barely by 2 points, so that's basically 2 elims right there. But yeah. Ozzy, you thought that team of Chai American Zito was able to hold on to that top spot for about 3 to 4 games, but it got erased after 1.
I'm just showing how cursed I am. I somehow cursed a team that managed to get over 30 points in 1 game, and they still can't hold on to the lead after I say they will. At this point, my predictions can't possibly get any worse. And Rhino and OG King on 18, they have double the points of the team coming 3rd right now. So Zito, Chimerican, Steve McSweaty, and Pickle, it's their tournament. But that was a very, very rough sign for Zito and Chimerican's consistency there. I believe in game 1, how many points? They had 31, so they only picked up 5 points that game. That's a huge discrepancy. They've really got to get that in check and try and get their consistency up. But I see Arbum and Chenkins only had 1 point after game 1, now on 12, so they're picking up the pace a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes averages really do mean averages in terms of where they're going to place. They had that big pop-off game, getting at least 30 points, but we saw that stat that they were averaging around 9 and 11, things of that sort. So they're coming down. It may be too soon that they popped off. Maybe they needed that pop-off game at the end, but taking a look at the rest of the standings here is we're getting very, very close to getting into game 3, Ozzy. And we kind of saw the same circle worked out for at least everybody, but that'd be interesting to see if the change in the end game will be a big factor going into the rest. And of course, Chang right there and Strap, they don't have 44 points. It looks like they have 4. Those Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets coming in, trying to get in there, trying to change up the score, but they all have 4 points. But as you can see, man, as the day goes on and the games progress, Ozzy, sometimes being in the back of the pack, I've said this before when I was casting the FNCS duos, it just makes you a dangerous team because you're going to be able to put everything out on the line. I mean, a lot of these players that you see in these ending pages were at least near end game. They just got to get a couple of things going their way, making sure that they use the fundamentals that got them here to compete in today's college championship. So it's going to be interesting who's going to be able to make those big jumps, because right now it's a race in the top 2, and the 3rd place is like at 16 points. So there's still a huge discrepancy. It's still a very top-heavy leaderboard that we have today.
Yeah, and this format, it kind of lends that a little bit. Obviously, duos cash cups these days in the current competitive iteration is a bit more placement heavy, and you get the placement points more often. You get rewarded for those elims, but as soon as you get into that like top 50, you start getting those placement points. So here you have to get that top 15. There's a lot of people I saw on that leaderboard with 5 or less points who've been shaking up the lobby. We saw Noms up there. He was putting out some serious damage, decimating people. He's only on 6 points. You get those eliminations, but you don't get the placement points. You're not going to be up there. But it means if you have that huge pop-off game, you can jump up there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replays from game 2 to see how Pickles and McSweaty jumped up to that first place there. And there it is, the replays of Noms getting that high ground, kind of just peeking at everybody. But Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickles were just able to take the high ground very, at least at 8th and 9th circle. They were just sitting up there the entire time. And that was a big impact elim that they had. They were able to refresh, and here it is, just the reigning terror of the rocket launcher, just getting all those elims and just racking up, and poor Dreams down below. CK doing his best to survive, but no. Steve McSweaty gets him to that #1 victory royale and getting him to #1 here at the college championship.
Yeah, and that win was the difference. There's only 2 points between first and second right now, with the win being 3 and the limb being 1. That was a 4-point swing. That rocket alone was worth 4 points, and there's not much Dream could have done there. I believe he was out of mats. When you're on low ground, you're hiding under one build, the player above you, you're just hoping they've run out of rockets, and as soon as you hear that rocket come out, what are you going to do? It's splash damage. It's going to hit you. It doesn't come down to accuracy. Beautifully played by Steve McSweaty and Pickle. But I think they're the ones to look out for. After I saw the stats there from Prodigy Analytics that the team that won game 1, Zito's team, the fact that that was more of like a flash in the pan, that was by far the best performance in the last over 2 months of games, makes me think that they might not have it for this. They might not have that consistency. It could have just been a really hyped good game. And then game 2, they dropped it off with less than 5 points.
There's one thing that we haven't mentioned is that Fuzzy, Pickle, and Stevie McSweaty are really long life friends.
Yeah.
They've been friends for the longest time, so they have that experience. And we kind of mentioned as we're prepping for this that they're one of the duos that've been together since the beginning. There's not a lot of duos out there that can say that.
Yeah, apparently someone was saying season 1. I think Monster even mentioned like kind of giving you X2 Twins vibes from my region, but I mean, they're literally twin brothers. They live together and play together. It's kind of awkward to split duos at that point, but to have 2 people play together since season 1, the chemistry they would have, but also, I say it a lot, like the mental fortitude. When that game 1 didn't go their way, 2 new duo partners might start bickering. Maybe they get a little bit aggro at each other, but if you know each other so well, you're like, hey man, we've done this so many times before. We've dominated this tournament for the last 2 months. Let's just do it again now. And then game 2, night and day, they come back with a huge performance.
Yeah, like their mascot, Sparky the Firebird. They just were able to catch on fire. But the battle bus is getting geared up for game 3 here. You just cannot deny the consistency of bringing that friendship into the Fortnite competitive world. I mean, I think what's interesting is that Fuzzy himself is a cross-country runner, so it is not a sprint. It's a marathon. So here we go with game 3. Battle bus is going. Let's see if the circle changes its location a little bit. I want to see some variety out here because there's so many circles that it can be literally. I want to see an entire ending in the water, just like I did in FNCS Duos. I want to see some chaos here for Ozzy.
Oh my gosh, if any players right now are listening to this before they go into this game, they are cursing you right now for trying to put that on. The water zones, while being so fun to watch, they're an absolute nightmare to play.
I know.
I mean, yeah, I want some interesting zones. I love them. We had one when we were doing the duos on the weekend, the solo FNCS on the weekend. It was crazy. It went completely across the bridge. It went through like rig, over the water, over the top of rig. They're cool zones to watch. So players, I think, not the greatest fans of them. As much as these 2 zones have been in the exact same spot, they're not the worst spot. Central map, so everyone kind of has an easy run to it. But we have overall ready Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty currently in first, finished first overall every time that they won a game during weekly qualifiers. After winning game 2, the rest of the teams are likely on edge. So no way, if they win a single game in one of the 9 weeks before this, they won. That's a ridiculous stat.
Yeah, and I mean, they've competed. They know each other. No doubt people know their outfits, seeing them run around. They know what they're dealing with. They know where they land. They know exactly so much. But I kind of think that anything could happen. But the way that Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle, we can't forget that they were on the ropes at Risky Reels. They were sitting there. One of them was knocked, and they had to pick them up and throw them out from the storm. So, you know, there were so many opportunities that they could have been ousted early. So that's the thing I love about Battle Royales, is that anything can happen here with Akron's squad right now. University of Akron with Amazing Kid. They were at least doing some damage here along with his partner Trigger. They were just unable to get into those placement points. They got 1 elim as we're seeing the elimination feed light up right now. Cyrus, your dark horse. The struggle continues with your curse, but Scroll Wheel gets bopped a little bit from Amazing Kid, getting himself some nice storm tags and going back to recycling. It's interesting. A lot of people like Salty Springs. It's kind of like the secondary spot. If you don't want to land at agency, you go to Salty Springs. It's a very familiar area. Returning back from chapter 1, and as Amazing Kid looking for some more bots of his own as Go Hugh is now on the high ground. Let's see if this opening engagement's worth it. Hugh gets a nice beam on Amazing Kid, and he's going to go ahead and tarp over. We're jumping right back to this other engagement that's happening on the other side near a lake here. But now back to the action as Akron University doing his best. So much action happening all over the eliminations. But Trigger, speaking of eliminations, goes down here, Ozzy.
Oh, nice positioning. Yeah, he goes down. I thought Akron's team, I thought the 2 of them were actually in the driver's seat of this fight, but looks like not. We have Amazing Kid trying to hold this one down. They get the Siphon finish. Oh, he's pushing out. He might have this. Gets him at 32 wide, but the AR shots can't connect. while I'm still on the mic, I have to mention this right now. We've had a bit of an unfortunate situation here. We have Rhino and OG King not connecting into Game 3. This is all done remote. I mean, I'm literally casting from Australia. These things happen. So just want to let you guys know that because they are in that top 5 right now. So that's going to affect the leaderboard quite heavily. That's why that's a name we won't be seeing too much in this game. But they can bring it on back with a huge performance. Maybe now they come into next game, nothing on the line, and they go full send.
Full sending is what you got to do here to get really high on the placement boards. On board here with Stir Fire and the first trip sitting here in the Shark, which has got recently updated. This is now a prison, as before it's not this luxury nice little mansion that I wish I could live in one day. But here we are. This Shark is available where Sky holds her rifle and the grappler, and we're switching over to just Lou and Nylander, who are just outside the lighthouse area here, sitting north of Pleasant. Big elim already happened. It's a big 50-50 that's happening right there. Lou from the low ground and his teammate from the high able to get that pinch on that competition.
Yeah, managed to pick up the elimination. They're on 15 points. That's a team to look out for right now. Like, it sounds crazy when you have first and second both over like mid-30s to late 30s. 36 for Zito and Chimerican going into this game, and 38 for Fuzzy Pickle and Steve. To point out a team on 15 is like, oh man, they're up there, is crazy. But right now, 15 points would put them in top 5. So you got to be really looking for a lot of those teams around there. And here they are, and they get uncontested Steamy again. So no funny things happening here. They don't have the eliminations they had last game. So I don't know, maybe my prediction was right. A duo tried to muscle into their area and they quickly snuffed that one out.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to take a major collapse from Fuzzy Pickle and Stevie McSweaty here, at least in their early games. And I would, that's interesting there. You know, when teams respect the other teams and they themselves do not want to be eliminated. I mean, that's the thing when you go into it. Now we're at the half point of this championship. Game 3 is essentially going to be the determining factor of who mixes it up and who changes their strat. And I think a lot of the bottom half of the leaderboard may think about that as we're on board here with the other Michigan State team, the Spartans of Nylander, of Just Lou, who, like you said, in around that top 5, which is the money. When you want to get placement right there, you work so hard for 9 weeks. And yeah, it's about winning the championship, but it's really nice to walk away with some money in that purse.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the season 0. Like, if you think about all those, I know you mentioned, obviously, I think you mentioned, oh, I'm gonna stop before I say the wrong player, but you mentioned some very specific athletes earlier today. I mean, if you win the first season 0, it's your mantle. You come back into the next one, you're the big kid on the block. So I think winning the first season is always one of the most important. You think in even competitive Fortnite, those names like Saf and Zayt that have been around for so long, they make a name for themselves going from the start and just staying on top. And to have how like poetic is it that's a team that has been playing together since literally the start of Fortnite. If this is like the start of their competitive career, getting them that getting that attention, that notoriety, I'd be so happy to call that out.
Lou using his 1C4, getting some minis from his teammate with that new technique of throwing throwable items right there like heals. But Nylander and Lou are now in trouble as Berkeley and God are just have the high ground. Berkeley does lose his shield here as Lou goes back up to looking for the retake, but God does have it, and they're both pushing right now. Build off is happening. But what a nice retake by Lou, and now is Berkeley and God on the low ground here. Let's see if Lou gets in the box. He's going in, but he has to be careful. There's 2 right there. He's able just to jump a little bit, and now he has to rely on his teammate on the pinch, but he takes so much damage there. But now Lou is still pushing in, and nice knock on Berkeley, and God go down. But that was a nice play from Nylander, able to help out Lou by throwing those minis, and they were able to converge in the right time for that perfect pinch. And that's what you want to see in duo play, Ozzy.
Yeah, definitely. That was a really good pinch. Good elimination. They knew they could be third party. They're at a good part of the map to take that fight. They weren't right up against a whole bunch of teams. And now we get to see Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle rotating out of Steamy at almost the perfect timing. It's as soon as they rotate, you now see a duo to their right pushing near them and a duo to their left. So if they've waited even maybe 20, 30 seconds, these duos would have got ahead of them to zone. So right now they can just make their way through and push straight in.
Another duo that is in the top 5 is Chai American and Zito. They had a decent run going into game 2. They went out a little bit early than they liked, and they were watching Pickles and Stevie McSweaty take their high throne there in the first place. So it is basically these two up for the reins for first and second place. It's about hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the line with just 2 points. So it's going to be interesting how this rolls out here in game 3. No doubt these competitors are looking at the Ealing feed to see if maybe they go down and help them out a little bit, as Duke and AU here have to cross the river, and Pickle and Stevie are getting some tags, and this is what they do. I see that they're always above Storm Surge by so many points, so this is exactly what's in their game plan.
Yeah, it's crazy how high they are above Storm Surge in those games, even with low eliminations. It's easy when you have 6 eliminations to be up there, but the sign of a good team, like when you watch EU or especially NA East and you watch any of their duo, trio, FNCS finals, you'd see Storm Surge threshold being thousands of damage, but there's still only 4 people in the lobby who have gone down. So they managed to pull off over 1,000 damage without actually having to eliminate anyone, just from seeing those clean tags they can get to make sure they're staying safe and not going those full engagement fights, which it looks like we're about to tune into maybe one of those full engagement fights. They're on top of It's Chilean and Dev here, and Friar Keys has the minigun in hand. Only a great tack, but when you got the minigun, sometimes you don't need a tack, especially in duos.
The first time we're seeing Keys and his teammate And1 on the broad. Is And1 big in Australia? You remember And1, the mixtapes?
I actually have no idea what you just said. So I'm going to guess
basketball,
no.
You know what I'm talking about? A1,
I'm
he's
sorry,
the professor.
I'm sorry. Okay, I know the professor.
There you go.
But I think that's less basketball, more the fact that I'm a YouTube nerd. I'm pretty sure that's just because of me having been on the internet. It could just be me, though.
I feel that.
Like I grew up with a lot of sports, but we have some weird sports. Yeah, like, I mean, basketball is pretty popular here, but our most popular sports, pretty much no one plays anywhere else in the world.
Look at the circle now. Finally, we got a change of pace here, Ozzy. The circle is now in the Steamy stacks, which may benefit Pickle and Steve here. Now on board here with Zito in the agency. They got a decent kid here. They got the TAC and the A. They got some floppers here represented from the Rutgers University Scarlet Knights. Taking a look at their stats, and we kind of mentioned that this pop-off game that they had is kind of bit of a flash in the pan, but let's see if they were able to regain some of that magic they had in game 1. As you see, their stats are just 35th, 29th. Their elims are 109, so they're kind of playing out of their mind right now.
Yeah, that first game, that's actually incredible. Like, it's night and day with the consistency of these two teams. They're 0 wins, so am I safe to say that means so they haven't won a week or they haven't won a game? That was their first ever win of a game in this whole 9 weeks. I'm pretty sure that means that was their first win, and they did it with over 20 eliminations. So maybe one of those teams that has the mechanics, has the aggression when things go their way, but maybe doesn't have that experience to be able to pull off consistent high placements, which we touched on in this format, they're going to need.
They're going to need, indeed, as Dave and Chilean looking for a moment to breathe, as they need some space between some other competitors running into the red barn. Haven't seen a lot of action in the Orchard, but it's all about to go down here. It is on the edge of the south side of the circle here, as we're going to get closer and closer to the next one here, as 5 points on the board for Chilean and Dave, on board with Dip and CG. And they are also in the Orchard. It's another competitor here, Bossing and Duke, as well in the Orchard. But remember, Pickle and Steve McSweaty are around here as well, lurking around, getting tags. So let's see where they end up, as they're getting very comfortable in game 3.
Yeah, definitely. And this fight hasn't changed. So this fight that I said could turn into an ultimate full send. It's just still on top of Orchard. It's Chilean and Dav have kind of moved in and nothing's really happening. It's gotten to that point in the game where it's hard to really break into it. So they've got the minigun, which will break open any fight, but you're going to get a lot of attention. If you stand up on top of your tower and just hold out a minigun, you're asking to get sniped, or even just a few heavy tags. As we see this area of the zone getting very, very congested very quickly. I think even, I don't know if Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle, they're in a good spot. I have to trust their competitive experience. They're up on top of a hill. They're 126 above Storm Surge. I'm thinking any team that's already got good Storm Surge damage, if they can head more towards that Steamy stack side, stay on this far north. So when we talk about zones being congested versus dead sides, anywhere right now, anywhere on this south side of this zone is going to be more congested, because most of the map has had to rush from their places to that south side and they just get in. Anyone who drops like Craggy this game, yeah, we see Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle. Anyone who drops on this north side at Steamy and stuff, they get to have their pick of the zone. It's interesting to see where they've gone with it. They haven't stayed as far away, but they still need those Storm Surge tags. If you go into too dead of an area and you literally can't see anyone, there's nothing you can do. As you see Derpy going for his Storm Surge tags on Osiris. I'm sorry, mate. I completely cursed you. I apologize. I need to reach out to you and just personally say sorry at some point, because this is not their day after I called them as one of the dark horses to look out for.
Yeah, Derp representing the University of Texas A&M, the Aggies are going all in, thumbs up right there, as on board with Sage E and Dip, who it looks like they finally got that Orchard battle taken care of between And1 right there and their squad mate, and they were having that jockeying position, and they were able to clean up there and get a nice kit. And that's what's very interesting as well, talking about Steve and Pickle. Their kit is not as strong as the other competitors running around in this circle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's walking in now. Like, we see Derpy right now got one of the strongest loadouts you can, really, with the Brutus's minigun. I talked about that right at the start of today, before game one even started, is the item to look out for that was going to change up the pace of today, and it hasn't really so much. That could be because it's in the hands right now of Mock Dylan and Derpy. They're on 15 points, so they're going to find themselves, if they keep this up, around that top 15. Unfortunately, teammate building him out has to go rounds. They're in a really good spot if they can find their way into Steamy, and if they can utilize that mythic minigun, sorry, it's going to break up some players. If that on high ground is terrifying to verse with a heavy sniper and a legendary tac shotgun. So they've rotated probably from Grotto, I'm guessing, or they've at least taken out the Grotto team. They've rotated far, but they've done well to eliminate on the way through.
Oh no, my prediction may be true. I see some water in this circle, and it's going to be very interesting, as it's going to be like a little beach action here that we have. There is a house on that far left, and taking a look at the craggy cliffs, as you mentioned earlier before. Inertia and Goods, by the way, paying the price by keeping that side a little bit open. I guess they weren't expecting someone to have that angle as Inertia, and they're only sitting with 2 points here in the college championship, doing their best to get a little bit more, because there's so many people on the lower side of the bracket, or the leaderboard, not having as many points as our top half competitors. So Kurt on Expo raining down on Dream and Toast again getting crispy fried right now, and they're trying to survive, and they're in a little divot, in a little, they don't have a good position right now, and they have to use their heavy hard mats, as they say, to kind of survive as much as possible. But Toast goes out completely as Milano and Cam, and this is not good news for him, as a rocket launch is sent their way. Kurt is sitting back with the rocket launcher, as Gerbia right next to him. But yeah, Toast goes out, and now it's Dream up all to themselves to continue on. But this is going to be the interesting part here, Ozzy, of the middle sides of the circle, is who's going to have to use up all the resources trying to find that prime real estate. And I think right now, Pickle and Steve are doing really well, just staying up in that tower that they have.
Yeah, prime real estate on the beach. Seems we're going to have a nice water zone thanks to Sancho here. Completely cursed all these players. If this goes towards the yacht as well, it's going to be a nice, like, got to find that nice real estate on the beach. Maybe like hold up on the yacht as well. I don't think I've ever seen an end game on the yacht. I don't actually know if it's within the game's coding to go to the yacht, but I can't see why not. I saw a rig game a few days ago, so it's an outlying POI. It would be pretty crazy. They're trying to get in. Heavy snipe goes through. Unfortunately, Derpy can't follow up and get in, but doesn't need it because Dylan cleans it up. 2 eliminations. This is a team to watch out for. I think they're going to shake this one up here, but because I've said that, they're definitely about to get eliminated now.
Look at that replay. They have the tools to bully into that box. Using the minigun and the heavy, there's not much you can do. There's not any kind of magical editing or any kind of magical build that you could use to get you out of that situation. But they may have another engagement with Crispy and Smarty, but it looks like they're disengaging. They're looking for layer control, as Michigan State Mike is having a great time in the stacks, using that updraft and see maybe he could get on top of somebody and capitalize. As Boba, man, every time I see Boba, I think of sweet Boba T doing his best to survive, as Abraham is going to green up with his teammate here, Chinkins, and they have a nice position here for this circle, but let's see how long that lasts. And it's going to be interesting to see where this circle rotates. It's way far away from them, so they still have to keep moving and rotating as Zito and Chai American, and it is up to Zito, who's all by themselves. So the pop-up game is may not happen in game 3. So now they're on the ropes. And taking a look at here, the breakneck pace that Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty are off to an incredible start with the second most points after 2 games, with 38 points from all weeks of the competition behind their own record of 45. So it may be, look what I've done, baby. We're talking about a, like, I don't know, 20% landmass. I'm not great with math, but
no, that was
This is about 20% landmass. There's all water, as Zito and Chai American all onto Zito's point of view. Now here was Sweaty here with 38 points, looking at more people. I think what's their play style is gatekeeping, because as you can see, they're always looking for that opportunity, and they're right on Storm at that line right there for the safe zone. So I'm expecting some big tags here for Steve and Pickle here, Ozzy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the same time, these are the kind of zones they're going to play in the hands of people like Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty, who have that competitive experience, who are consistent. The consistency stats that Prodigy keeps throwing up is just building the story of a team that has dominated every single week. So I have to imagine at some point they had some water zones. They had those rough zones. So if anyone here is equipped to still perform right now, it's going to be them as well.
It'd be interesting to see if Dip and say GE be able to handle this water zone, because they are from the Salve Regina University from Rhode Island. So they're used to being on the small side of land here. Let's see if that converses here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hey,
I totally get that reference. I definitely understand what you just said.
Yeah, well, and Australia being out there on the island, big old island themselves. Say GE doing his work right now, raining down with the minigun. And taking a look at the rest of the lobby, now they have to figure out, Ozzy, where do we go? Do we go to the beach? Do we sit out on this other side here? There is a little bit of the mountain on the left side. Maybe that could be an opportunity to hold, but this is not the kind of circles, as you mentioned, that you want to see in a championship game.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be right now. If you were trying to claw your way back into this, you're having a bit of a shambles loadout right now, and you're just sitting there being like, please, I need an easy zone. I need to be able to rotate. And then you see this in front of you. It's going to get a few of them scared because there's only so much they can hold up on. They're all huddled together. Just, please don't go over the water. Please don't go over the water. Here it is. 1 second. Does it go over the water? Oh, it does. It's only like 10% land mass. It's almost all in the water. All these players that are on that edge now need to just start moving. They can't even wait for a communal launch pad. They have to go.
You gotta go, and if anyone has to tunnel across the water, expect a lot of resources. So we're just taking a look at our overview and look at the map right now. Half in, half out, half water, half land. We only have one team, and that's Dylan and Derpy is sitting on that. The Aggies have a great position right now as the Michigan State Carpsy sitting on the low ground, and all the action is flowing right now. So we're on board here with Dylan, taking a look at their POV as they're looking at the other crosses. The other one's just sweating. Here comes a couple of early people. Out goes the minigun, doing their best, sending that rain of fire, getting a couple of nice tags as Surefire goes a little bit low. Fire has to do his back, but now Michigan State Mike goes down. More tags are happening here, Ozzy, as Dylan and gets scroll wheel. Dylan gets it, and that's what we're talking about. This is the dominant position, and the whole lobby is up for grabs. A lot of flies are in the air as Dylan is doing their best and Derpy doing their best to just lay fire on the rest of them. There's only one team that decided to tunnel over. The rest flew over with that launch pad. But what a great positioning and some big E-limbs from Mock and Derpy right now as they're trying to suppress Burrito's squad from coming up and taking this high ground from them.
Yeah, that was such a good position. You said the flies, they're trying to swat them out of the sky. This is an incredible endgame to watch. I feel bad for them for you having cursed it, but as a commentator, these are the best games to watch. It really does separate the best from those who have just kind of scraped through up until now. And Dylan and Derpy, it's almost like the Obs team knew. We'd followed them in the mid game. First, we've really seen from them, and they were building up and setting up to this moment. I talked about the minigun, and I think they're going to have the high ground for it. 83 builds on Derpy is more than enough to make this next rotate. They get rotating zone as well, and it goes back across a big divot of water. If they hold the high ground, they're in the best position to rack up some serious points this game.
The only thing is a lot of people launch over, so there's not going to be a lot of builds for them to work with. There was one team that did kind of tunnel over, so that's going to be an important piece of recycled land to go right over as we're on board with Fuzzy and Steve, our first place leaders right now in the PlayVS College Championship featuring Fortnite. This is season 0, so this is going to be the first opportunity to put your stake right now in the college esports world here as Steve, and it looks like they're trying to clear out like a free path. This is the opportunity. Even though the circles are getting a little bit more aggressive, Ozzy, you see experienced teams already trying to navigate, visualize how they're going to get into the next zone.
Yeah, they've got to figure out what they're going to do now. If you're not on the high ground, you've really got to try and figure out what your game plan is going to be. And the high ground getting knocked out, they moved forward with it. Here's the minigun. I said it. If someone has this on high ground, they're going to knock you off your height or suppress you down. Derpy and Dylan doing such a good job to hold it, but unfortunately, Hagger and that, they're just fighting for it so hard. It's one of those situations where you have to give it up, not because it's sometimes the best decision, but it's all you can do. No, and he goes down to full damage. Hag, unfortunately, just went full send on that high ground at all costs, and it cost him everything. He goes down. Derpy and Dylan now have this single top high ground, like you said, with that minigun. No, but Fuzzy and Pickle low ground gets the elimination. That could have been massive if he got taken out by Gust, and he doesn't. 38 points, soon to be 39 when Gust goes down here for this team, and they are holding their own in a very, very awkward endgame.
A lot of our competitors are holding their own on these aggressive circles, and it goes right back over water. Just a piece of it is on land. It's going almost the most north side of this entire thing. So let's see what happens as Derpy gets some big hits, and that's going to be a big factor to slow them down and holding on that high ground back to first place. Pickle, Steve, hunkered down, doing their best to heal up as the rest of the lobby is dying to the storm and they're getting eliminated. So it's all up to these first and second place as Pickle and Steve have 44 points, and Dylan actually and Derpy are making their case, working the way up because Zito and Chai American went down so early in this match.
Yeah, if they pick up a few more points here, they're going to take out second place, which I think that's all they're going to be able to do because Fuzzy, Pickle, and Sweaty are still holding on to this one. Needs to get time to get these shields off. So we have Steve leading the way for Fuzzy. He needs to find time to get the minis off and the big pot. Looks like he finds the time. Zone pulls back. A little bit of a breather. They get that fresh air now. Get the med kits off. Get the shields off. Gets them up into a nice position. Even if they go down now, they have secured so many points. They've made it into top 5 teams. So other than the win now, they've gained maximum placement points. If they can somehow pull this win off, I don't think they will. But either way, a massive consistent performance for them. And Dylan and Derpy on the high ground, got that minigun held out, ready to go, just looking down who's the next target, who's my next victim.
Yeah, and it looks like Pickle and Sweaty have to deal with Mackle and Go Hugh. They are the ones that are kind of antagonizing them from getting a clean thing, and I think Pickle goes down from Hugh, and there it is. Sweaty actually to come back and get it, and that's going to be a big-time elim for them as they're still going to get a little bit more closer and closer to that second place, and right there, second place is secured by Steve, and now it is up to Derpy and Dylan to close this out as the first place is sitting on the low, and that is it.
It is.
Dylan and Derpy from the University of Texas A&M getting that first victory royale in Game 3 of the PlayVS Champion Series. Woo!
Yeah,
Look at this replay right here.
Here it is, Steve. I think he just gets held out in zone there. I don't think he has a way through. Maybe there was a fully built metal wall, was just trying to find something. But, I mean, 2 versus 1 in this situation, the loadout difference, the health difference, the everything difference. I think he was at all disadvantages, but he still managed to pick up the second. This is incredible consistency. It's so nice to build up this storyline of these players and not have it just completely fall flat. These guys are insane.
Yeah, let's take a look at the standings to see how everything is shaking out after our Game 3. And as, yes, Pickle and Steve are at 48 points, but Zito and Chai American still holding on to that second place with a big surge from Dylan and Derpy with 34. But that just means Lou and Nylander are in striking distance. There's so many people here with at least 20 points or within striking distance because I think Dylan and Derpy kind of almost came from the same pack here. So anything can happen. Of course, Rhino and OG King paying the price as their game did crash, dropping down to 9th place. So that is very unfortunate, but I know they have the skill. They have that confidence to be able to get themselves back up there, Ozzy.
Yeah, and I see a Naughty and Lace there. There's teams up here who can have those big pop-off games and jump back up into that top 3, top 5. And this is just playing more and more into Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty's hands. These teams that have those pop-off moments from the bottom of the leaderboard up is still just keeping them further and further near the top. So we see Jenkins there, talked about him earlier, World Cup qualifier, 15 points now. So I think he only picked up about 4 that game, but he picked up 1 and then over 10 and now 4. So picking up the pace a little bit more consistency from him. This is going to be the part of the game now, or the tournament, where it starts to be go big or go home. If you're only getting money for that top 5, you've really got to work your way in there, or there's no point coming anything else. So this is when those top teams need to hold on and need to make sure they don't get caught in those, what I think is going to be very aggressive mid-game fights.
And not only that, we had ourselves an aggressive in-game right there. I kind of laid it on the table. I wanted to see some water zones, and we did. And the water world that it was, and it was able for Dylan and Derpy, who had that prime position on the side of that mountain, was a big factor because they were able to tarp right over all existing builds, and then the circle just kept rotating, recycling back and forth between old builds. And with that minigun, as you said, during the cast, with that minigun, they were able to just keep height and keep wrecking on the rest. As you see the rest of the standings here, and it's long as you're competing. Look, just because you're not getting any points now, that doesn't mean you're not a great duo. You're one of the top 50 collegiate Fortnite duos out there. So keep your head high and keep competing, because your pop-off game, as we saw that Zito and Chai American, could come at any moment and it could get you higher and higher in the standings. But that doesn't matter because the standings right now is so close to top heavy. But I just want to, when you compete at this level, I want you just to walk away feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, it's always experience too. We talked earlier about some of those teams that struggled in those Storm Surge lobbies, but this is 6 games now where they get to practice that. And this isn't the last time we're going to see PlayVS Fortnite. They're definitely coming back. We know this is Season 0. Season 1 could be theirs. It's just more and more experience.
Let's take a look at some of the replays that already happened today in the Play versus College Championship, and that is what it was. Derpy and Dylan doing their best with the weapons that they acquired throughout the Battle Royale experience, and we saw Fuzzy Pickle and Steve holding it down on the low ground there, Ozzy.
Yeah, they actually held their way through that kind of mid to low ground area. I mean, it's just showing that they have every facet of their game covered. Okay, this isn't going to be a pop-off game. We don't have height. Let's stick mid game. Let's rotate. I saw them having those comms as well. We talked about they have been playing together since season 1. The second Steve started to get low, Fuzzy took over the tarping. Right now, Fuzzy goes down. Steve comes back. Like, you can just tell from this team without even hearing it, their comms and their play style is incredible. You can just tell they have that level of chemistry that is rivaled only by some of the best pros that have been around for a very long time.
Again, it's quite interesting to see how duos compares to solos plays. Of course, trios and squads. And trios and squads usually have someone assigned a role, like someone who's going to be the tarper, someone's going to be the tunneler, someone's going to have the weapons. Usually they give that to a controller player, things of that sort. But now in these duos, you're seeing that you have to be the kind of person that could do it all, and they can kind of take over and, just like you said, do what they do best. So we're getting ready for game 4, and we're seeing everything shake out. But I don't want to make you do a prediction, but I kind of have to, because it is our jobs. Who do you think is going to walk away in game 4 from our top 3? Is it Zito and Chai American? Are they going to keep sliding down to the average mean from their performance? Or are they going to kind of wake up and just remember what got them to that game 1 top place finish?
Only for the amusement of it. I just want to say Anorti's going to have a really good game, because I've seen him around in the prac scene a lot. I know that's a duo that has a lot of potential. I want to say that to see if they now have their worst performance of the day. I'm officially never giving predictions again, because I'm just ruining it for so many players. But I think Anorti, they're going to be that next team that's going to jump up massively. I'm predicting Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. You have to say they're going to at least make top 5. Like, that's just statistics at this point. If they don't, I'm even more cursed. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about, Sancho, was from an outside perspective, all the way from Australia, I know how much these college rivalries have built up. Like, I've heard about them, and I don't even know where half these places are. Are there any kind of rivalries that you can see from the colleges or universities up there, or are we going to start forming some new ones today?
I think no doubt we're going to definitely new ones today, but that we see some SEC teams out there. You know, we haven't seen University of Alabama out there, Roll Tide. We haven't seen them on the broadcast yet, but no doubt, man, that is the lifeblood of the college scene. It's all about rivalries, and it's really hard for me as when I was growing up a fan of the University of Texas, seeing the University of Texas A&M doing so well in this competition. Of course, they're no longer in the same conference, but the rivalry still runs through my blood of Texas versus Texas A&M. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see everything shake out, and I think I like that, and I miss that collegiate team element in competition, and I find that that's what's very cool. There's that another layer on top of the entire thing. So we'll see if those Aggies can keep going and keep up that gameplay, getting them surging all the way up to second place. But I thought that I still think Pickles and Steve are really high up there.
Yeah, can I plead ultimate ignorance here? What is an Aggie? What are the Aggies?
I have to look into it. From what I remember, I mean, I just remember they're a very, they have a military, like a background.
Oh.
They kind of, they're the 12th man. It's so the Aggies were something
cool.
that, yeah, they're very tradition set, but they're one of the top veterinarian schools in the country. But you know what? Before we get more into that, I want to do some research about what is an Aggie, because I don't quite remember, but we'll take a break and we'll be right back with that answer.
find the right words. And there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl. So I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. Doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective, I'm the deepest in the cut. Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now. We know I ain't ballin' yet. Hoes wanna holler, oh no, I don't call them back. Girl, let me see you hold it down, we gon' have a blast. Cause I just wanna know what you gonna do with all of that. Ain't gotta say a word, I know what's up. You can have it all, watch me rip it off. I'll admit it, you got me feeling hella love. Even when it's going down, know that we gon' live it up. Young shot caller, always been a baller. Know that you the one, I can feel it in my heart. Yeah, I won't stop charging me, go and come harder. I can see you and I, way beyond the stars, girl. I can never ever find the right words. And there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl. So I can only say that it feels right. It feels right.
Welcome back, everybody, as we get set for Game 4. I am Sancho West with Aussie Antics here for Season 0 Play versus College Championship featuring Fortnite. If you want more information about signing up for the next season, be sure to visit playversus.com/college. For not only Fortnite, but other games is out there. There's more coming in the future. And, of course, there's opportunities beyond just gaming that you can want to get into the industry of gaming. So we're going to go ahead and get into Game 4 very shortly. And I did some research. And Aggie is basically short for agriculture, okay? So they're the Aggies, and their mascot, from what I remembered, is a rough collie named Revel. But they have so many traditions there. They are known for being the 12th man, and no doubt the 12th man is in full effect as Dylan and Derpy, as we're on board with them, making their way up their leaderboard on third place or so. Second place now, getting really close to the high finish of our top leaders of Pickle and McSweaty.
Yeah, and it's one of those drops like we talked about with Grotto. Yeah, they're doing well, and we see their stats on the right. Definitely not a team to completely count out on this one. They have received 4 wins during the qualifiers, coming 6th. They got the 6th most amount of wins. They have season points 256, 14th most amount of points accrued. So they're doing well, and their qualifiers point per games is 9.14, and that puts them in the 4th. So I have to think there's maybe some weeks they've missed then if their average is so high, but they still have been a little bit behind on those points, and their best placement was week 2 in week 3. So they haven't managed to actually pick up first place in any of these weeks. So if they can somehow do it today, and with that Grotto drop, I mentioned it's one of those PYs to look out for. It's interesting that they're coming back in the tail end of this to hopefully make at least one of my predictions come true today.
And maybe perhaps dropping Grotto leads to their inconsistency. I mean, sometimes things can go south so quickly at the Grotto. I mean, I doubt these players go down to the henchmen, but who knows? They may get popped there, but there's just so much traffic and so much things can go wrong for you. Sometimes you take a fight that lasts too long. Maybe you don't get access to the vault right away. You don't walk away with those high-tier weapons that you want, or you don't have Brutus's minigun, so your drop at that POI may be all for naught. But I think that may lead to their inconsistency. But today, they're consistently walking out of the grotto with all the tools that they need for a high-place finish.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing going down to the henchmen, I've seen some top tier pros go down to henchmen. I mean, Midas being one of them, that drum gun can be lethal. Same with Bruce's minigun. He can turn on you sometimes, and it's like quadruple dink in half a second. I have no shame in saying that I have gone down multiple times to these henchman bosses on stream, and I think it still stings every single time, but realistically, I think everyone laughing at you, I know they've gone down 1 or 2 times too. These guys are crazy sometimes.
There's nothing like getting bossed by a henchman in front of your own stream, and you're sitting there with egg on your face, and you have to explain to your community that you're not a bot, but you know, maybe
kind of went down to 1.
It went down to 1, but it is what it is. And of course, seeing on board here with Ness, they're kind of outside of looking into the top 5 of placements, but who knows? They're on the cusp. There's 2 games remaining for our competitors here today, so a lot can turn around for these guys as they're trying to get to those top 3 positions. And a Nordy, someone that you did mention during the break, this is the first time we've seen yes, he's alive, brother. But this is the first time that we actually seen the boom bow. We saw a little bit of it, a little bit of taste, but
not
they do have the
though,
vault key, and they're going to go ahead and get the spoils out of that vault. But let's talk about what this vault was introduced, of course, in Chapter 2, Season 2, and how much it changed the competitive scene, honestly.
I mean, if we're talking about vaults and we're talking about rig, I mean, I don't want to get into too much drama, but it has changed the competitive scene quite a lot, if anyone knows what I'm referencing to at the moment. But the vaults are crazy. It leads to some very interesting interactions, because you'll see players stay so deep in Storm to try and maybe go back in and get some of the loot from that vault they missed, or you see teams getting into the vault and holding it through the Storm, or even in OCE, you saw it a lot. There was a team that used to drop near Quid and Jinx, which was our FNCS winners, and they would get the vault keycard, because sometimes Tina now spawns on the actual island, the mainland, not on the rig, and they would hold that keycard and hide it to make sure that team wouldn't get it. It leads to some insane interactions, and as I say that, we have Go Hugh owns NR up here and Scroll Wheel taking a fight just outside Salty. They have that slurp truck in the distance, which is maybe what they were trying to go for, so this is a pretty safe fight to take. If they don't go down here, even get some free tags, they can go back and get a free 100 fresher.
And one all by himself there as Hugh and his partner here. Scroll Wheel have him in his sights, but that may be actually Scroll Wheel goes down. What a big one from And1 going for another one, but it doesn't happen. And now we have both teammates down, and now it's between Hugh and Friar Keys. I like to point out, Ozzy, that Friar Keys and And1 were last seen at the Orchard, so they're mixing up their spot, but it doesn't matter. They get eliminated and out of the lobby. And that goes a couple of points going to Scroll Wheel and Hugh, the Wildcats from New Hampshire University, staying alive here in Game 4. You know what? I got to point this out because this is a really cool tidbit that I got from production. They also offer at the university Gamer Pacific housing with a 48-student pod-style housing arrangement right in the heart of the New Hampshire University. Wouldn't that be cool, dude? You go there and you got us up, you're dorming up in a pod-style land. You know, that's awesome, bro.
What? I'm just even thinking the fact they have gamer specific, so I'm imagining amazing connections and everything. Like, it's a different world out here down where I am. Like, the ping and the internet connection on that would be incredible. The fact they're, like, prioritizing gaming along with education is massive. I know with my involvement as a content creator, a lot of the talks that I've done, I mean, I've done talks with multiple companies, but they always focus on that whole, hey, you got a degree and you play video games. It's like, you can still keep an education going and video games. They're quite mentally stimulating, and if you manage your time well, it's actually a really good way to pass your time and still keep mentally stimulated, working on things like fast twitch muscle fibers, things like that. There's a lot to gain from it, so it's crazy to see colleges specifically prioritizing gamers now.
And nothing like getting that sweet, sweet cloud as Rhino right here and OG King on 9th place here. They have about a 4% chance for placing first, so there are a lot of opportunities for them that they need to capitalize to get a little bit closer. But I don't know, as you see, their aggression is there. They know that they make up a lot of points as Rhino is picking a fight here at the gas station here against Skeptic Dream out here in Pleasant Park. As you see, he jumps right down into it. Gonna go for the heavy, just misses on the right side. No doubt Gus felt that gust of wind as that bullet projectile flew right by him as King and Rhino take claim here of this gas station. But yeah, it's very interesting. We haven't seen a lot of battles inside the henchmen, safes, houses, and things of that sort. It is now or never. As time is running out, the top 5 teams collectively have more than a 72% chance of winning the entire championship, and that is the lion's share of $5,000, Ozzy.
Anordi, it's Anordi in a fight here. Please win this, just for my sake. Anordi in this in a 1v2. Maybe not. Please do not tell me I've cursed you here. Get the minis off. Get the big pots. Survive, please. Cam on the back foot right now as well. And gets a beautiful pump shot. Anordi might have this one. He's got such a good loadout for it. Legendary AR, legendary pump, and the heavy sniper. He can do some serious work with this, and he's trying to get back to Lace, see if they can back it up. They have 0 eliminations so far, but I think this is either going to close out with a 2, or it might be their lives. I can't see them disengaging. And with another team now pushing in for the third party, I think I saw Noms to the north there. I maybe saw the name, but Milano on the back foot. Get to the box, and no!
Ozzy!
He goes down! And
Ozzy!
no! You were supposed to hold this down for me. I picked the safe bet. I know you practice all the time. You had to just do well in one game.
What did you do as Lace is now the remaining member of that duo? I mean, they're from the Elon University. Their mascot is the Phoenix. Can they rise out of this bad ashes situation and continue on? And Lace has to do it all by himself, not only competing with the lobby, but competing with Nordy. As we take a look at this replay, competing with Ozzy, I mean, not Nordy, but thank you, Ozzy. You eliminated a Nordy with your prediction.
No, he goes down. He started that one with 154 legendary pump tag, and he has a legendary AR. You think that, like, they're going to close it out. If you're a betting man, you bet on him to win that fight. But no, he goes down, of course, because I predicted he would. As now the Obs team tuning into Osiris, which is another team that I predicted to well, and he's dead.
Yes, Lace trying to stay away from death right now as he's having to fight Cams and Milano here. And there is someone on the high ground. Is Burrito and Noms coming in to looking to grab some third-party action as per usual. A lot of resources, and that allows Lace to disengage a little bit and just run away. And that is the benefit of something having a third party, is sometimes when you're by yourself, you just bide your time. Maybe luck is on your side, and Burrito and Nam shows up to help out as they get big chunks of Milano there. So your prediction is still okay. Time is still okay, Oz.
I mean, at this point, I could legit predict the team that's coming 50th to win this one just to make this a final interesting show. Or I could predict the team winning it just to choke. And
there you
I
go.
mean, I don't even know anymore. We'll see. Burrito and Noms, I did see them come into this one. This is one of those teams that I did say that have been causing some upsets. Their points are up there. It's crazy to think that right now he's in top 10 clearly, but still nowhere near first. But they're an aggressive team with a very aggressive loadout right now. And if they come across maybe Pickles or Sweaty, they can change things up.
That was actually a big elim because they were on the cusp. Nordy and Lace were sitting at top 10, and right there Burrito and Noms had the same amount of points, so they got rid of them so they could get closer and closer up to the money of the top 5. So that was actually a money elim right there for that squad. And we take a look at the lovely weapons here of the goldness. So that's what you want here walking into the end game, as Rhino and King are eating the storm right now in Pleasant Park. Ninelander is back there. So these is one of the teams that did have a disconnect. I know that could, cause a little bit of, shakiness, knowing that you're going to have to make up for a game loss. But in Rhino and King, they could do it. It's up to Rhino to do it all by himself.
Yeah, and then we got to watch around that top 5 mark. That is where the money starts to kick in. So top 10, while being impressive, top 5 is what you're going for. But, I mean, crazy as well. Epic getting behind this one. Everyone is walking away with something today. These guys are getting hooked up with some sick merch. And, I mean, I don't know about you, Sancho. I feel like when I was at university, it wasn't that long ago, but school, like, if you were a gamer, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, you're a gamer. And it was like, people backhanded compliments. Now it's like, I am the best Fortnite player at my school. And they seem like the cool kids. So maybe rocking some Fortnite merch around campus could actually get you some respect.
Some respect. I mean, the only thing I had was my Pilot Wing 64 record, and I may be dating myself as it was my birthday yesterday, as we're back on board with Nest and Skydrops, and they do have the Midas drum gun in their repertoire. Again, in duos, it's not about what you have as a single player. It's about together. What are your resources? What are your weapons that you have? As we're on board with the Travis Scott duo of Noms and Burrito, and we see in them, and they've been third-partying, and that's what's going to happen right now with Dip and Seiji going to third-party this one. And Kurt on Expo looking like he's all by himself trying to do his best to stay alive.
Yeah, outside agency. We haven't seen any of those crazy big engagements outside agency we'd expect. Then we come back over, we're just seeing the power of the minigun going on through there. We see how that fight closes out, and now we have it. There's so many players here. This is 7 players, I believe, and Skydrop's Nest disengaging. I think Kurt on Expo is the solo, and then you have Dip Seiji now versing Duke and Beasting. They're trying to push up towards this one. This is a big agency engagement where you think a lot of those players may be rotating into agency because there's going to be spare shield. If a team gets agency and they leave, there's going to be spare shield down there. And maybe for players like Beasting who have no shield, that was their opportunity, but now it puts them right in the firing line with a bunch of other teams who had the same intention.
Looks like the circle is going to be south of the agency, a little bit much more south than game 1 and game 2. You're going to have a lot of terrain to deal with the mountains. And of course, we've been seeing a lot of Weeping Woods in the competitive scene be a finish. And you kind of mentioned before, the ability to tarp over high with a single tarp is available because considering that the trees block all that. But, you know, I mean, interesting that we haven't seen a lot of our competitors walk a lot of floppers and things of that sort as in other competitive scenes. We haven't seen the meta of having a lot of floppers, and we haven't been seeing Fuzzy Pickle and his partner here, Stevie McSweats, have a lot of those mythical weapons as well. They're just doing the fundamentals of positioning and getting those early tags to avoid Storm Sword. So it's going to be interesting to see like how it progresses in the rest of the competitive scene in Fortnite. Is there going to be that big of a value in Fortnite competitive, especially in duos or squads or trios?
I think you pointed out best before when you talked about Grotto and leading to maybe some inconsistency. In opens lobbies, there is definitely the statistics to back it up. I don't think Pro's is going to be able to bring it up because it's about a totally different tournament, but the stats are there that if you, in opens tournaments, you're dropping mythic POIs, your chance of performing go up massively when you walk away from spawn with that item. But to fight for it against another 49 amazing teams who can go toe-to-toe with you, the value of that weapon goes down. If you're losing on spawn a lot, and even once you get your hands on it, you can't be as aggressive with it. So it's not surprising to see a team that is dropping a normal POI like Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle, but having it uncontested, which is a huge factor, is coming out on top.
Yeah, being uncontested, but they're not being uncontested for the top 3 as we're taking a look at the rest of the circle. It's very familiar near Weeping Woods, but it's much more south. We haven't seen it in an open area from Holly and the Holly and Sweaty Sand. So this is going to be a very interesting finish. As Ozzy predicted, as well as that, I expect a lot of single tarping happening over the tree line. Let's see who's able to use that zip line as well. That'll be a big factor for making rotations. Maybe you don't have to use the launch pad as Fuzzy and Stevie are making I think their game sense is really high because they've been picking the perfect place to be when it gets into those mid game as we're approaching it very, very closely into that 4th circle. As we see Crispy and Smarty, one of the kind of the dark horses that we've haven't had that pop-off game, but they're still doing really, really well and in striking distance of money.
Yeah, we see them hiding here, striking distance, lying in wait, hiding in the bush to strike. They're trying to make their way into Smarty, and Jar Crispy going high ground for it. Has a good loadout, blue tack, legendary AR, losing himself a little bit in the builds. I'm seeing he's getting left a little bit behind, but Fuzzy Pickle and Steve have to hold their own on this one. They're getting time to get some of those meds off. They keep pushing up, but the higher they push, the more of a target they make the lobby. Beautiful double-header comes through, takes the wall, edits the stair, but misses the shot, giving Pickle a chance to get out, but he takes a little bit of a tag on the way through. They need to close out this fight quickly because I think third parties are going to start coming out. Sweaty's there, and it looks like they're going to have to disengage or not. They're going for different angles, but this little breather's massive for Fuzzy. If he gets that med kit off their back, in fighting force, they're going to be on 150 effective health each, and I think they gave him the time to get it off. They do. Massive mistake from them. I actually think Jar Crispy had the chance to change the tides of the whole tournament, had the wall, had the stair, got the edit, but missed the shot.
It's up to Smarty and Crispy right now to knock down Pickle and Steve. It's a big situation right here, a big moment in the tournament. There's the big hit as Pickle goes down, and all of a sudden the rest of the field is happy to see these two in the feed as Crispy is able to get the full elim on Pickle, and Steve McSweaty leaves his teammate behind and has to disengage, and Pickle is out, and Crispy and Smarty with some big elims considering that themselves are on the top 5. So that's some big money elims for them right there, Ozzy.
And look how good that rotate was, though. Steve McSweaty, you see him rotate down to the right side. Now he's being held. I was going to point out the fact that the team that fought them, Jar Crispy, instantly got shot at the second that fight was over with the way they went. Steve McSweaty, as much as his teammate is now gone, Pickles is out of there. He is now having to hold it down on his own, but he picks the perfect rotation to make it away. Because look at Jar Crispy and Smarty. Look at the way they went now. You see them on the top. Beautiful perspective from the OBS team. They are getting lasered and lit up, and now they're both going to get eliminated from Steve, giving a little bit of payback on that fight. And then it just shows how much experience he has as a solo. Even in that panic moment of my teammate's gone, what do I do? He still chose the better rotation path.
They chose the better rotation part, and it looked like Crispy and Smarty did pay the price. And it looks like they have been, and it's all to Smarty, who's all by himself. 6th place in the 9 weeks of season points there. So they have experience doing well against this lobby, and they were able to get a big elim. But now it is up to them to keep surviving now with this aggressive play. And we've seen this before when there's someone that's by themselves. And as you saw, there's that call out that you have for Steve, still making that solo push all by himself. But I think Smarty knows that he's on the ropes. He's not going to let him go freely, at least make him use a lot of the resources here.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and hold this one down solo. I was going to try and say, and I grabbed some stats there for Steve. So the highest amount of points that someone has gained in one of the weeks leading up to this was actually high 80 points. They had up to 7 games to play though. So them on low 50 points, they're on pace to actually break kind of a point record for these games. So not only are they playing phenomenally in the finals, they're playing phenomenally as if it was a normal week as well. Their point average right now is incredible, but now has to try and do it as a solo might diminish that just a little bit.
Now we're on back to Hugh, who we've seen before, again in that top 10. Look at the stats right here. 2nd in wins during the season, 317 points for the season, 197 elims, and their best placement was 3rd place. So they weren't able to win, but they are really close to walking away with that top 5 placement there, to walking away with some money, and that's $5,000 that's going to be separated. And just we're talking 5th place here is $125, 4th is $500, 3rd $750, and 2nd $1,500, and of course $2,000 for 1st place here. Now we're board here with Tevion and Aqua. Aqua with 11 points. They're on the cusp. They're on the bubble. They could do some noise here.
I like the 2 little tips of the hat. We have X2 as well out of my region, X2 twins. Maybe we got a fan there in Tevion. And we also have Aqua there, little 2 tips of the hat to some of the best and most, I guess, renowned competitive veterans of the day. So maybe you're going to be able to pull something out here, but that's really interesting stats from Go Hugh. They have the 2nd most amount of wins. So if someone here is going to get that win, get that upset, a win right now would jump them from their mid-20s, possibly up into like maybe 40 points, high 30s. So they can get their name into money range if they pull off one of those wins they're so renowned for doing.
Of course, Dylan and Derpy's 14th series points performance is anything but surprising. They have the most win of any team outside the top 10. So this is going to be important for them to keep up that pace in Game 4. They do have the heavies. They're looking for those hits, and they're sitting on top of the tree line doing their thing that they did in Game 3, just looking for anybody not paying attention. And they did get some big tags, Ozzy, as people were padding out of there, and they're going for the double heavy. Unable to get any kind of tags, but they're making the other teams using the resources here. And so we've seen a very interesting zone here. It's kind of half on the mountain, half out. So let's see what happens as it's going to progress into the rotating circles. Again, look, Boba Tea, man, every time, bro. I just want to get a nice, sweet Boba Tea. Do not pop the tea, brother. Oh, they did. They got a tag.
The body shot.
The
body shot, no headshot. It's interesting. You almost never see the double heavy snipes anymore after they reduced the availability to get them out of those henchman chests. Back in the day, you pretty much dropping heavy snipes left, right, and center out of those chests. Now it's very rare to find 2 of those heavy snipes, but they make their rotate, and I think they did end up using that launch pad. It was a good zone for them because they're already on elevation, so they're able to do was a short pad and get to the next zone. They still have one in the inventory of Dylan, so I think they launch padded that. They maybe just had a spare one. They do have the elimination, so they've gotten a refresh and some extra mats and some extra loot, so maybe they had 2 launch pads in the back pocket.
So yeah, last game we had a difficult circle. Now it's a little bit of difficult circle, making your way up a mountain. I mean, anything could happen with this elevation they have to go through, as Dylan and Derpy are just raining down the fire, using the harpoon gun with a big refresh grab right there with that harpoon, and they're kind of just getting it. Hilly from Penn State University, the Nittany Lion, is in trouble, doing his best to survive this attack as this onslaught from the Aggies is going on, and they have all the tools here, Ozzy, just to make the lobby use up all the resources, but they did pay the price, as now they're down to not a lot of green health right there, or white health. And look at Dip and CG sitting on the high ground, having a calm, cool, collected look of everybody up the top.
Yeah, they're in a good spot, and this could be an upset team. 12 points total for today, 1 elimination on the high ground. If they get a win, or they're the team in the driver's seat, that's going to be massive for Steve and Pickles, because I don't think they're going to really contest them at the very top with the points they get. They're the team they want to see up there. So I'm actually talking about them. I don't think Steve is still in this lobby. I haven't seen him. Yeah. Maybe Steve is out of here as well. So that was their chances, having a bit of a rough 4th game. No, there he is. Steve McSweaty is there on the right side. He is holding it down as a solo. As I say that, of course he gets shot at, but he might have a chance to get back in this one. and pick up some more points.
Zito is still in this one as well, one of our top 5 teams racking up the points. And it's interesting that you saw Steve on the back line kind of making his way in. We saw in the previous match here, Ozzy, he was the low ground warrior doing his best to survive. So now he's in full survival mode as the lobby is dropping, as Ness picks up an Elim on Asian right there. And here we are with Dip. And they're in a weird situation right now. They don't have full height, but they still have some great materials to work with as they're trying to get in. As Steve picks up some eliminations as well. He's picking up eliminations. He's still
Steve in the feed.
off.
But he is fragging out on full duos as a solo. You see him there in the middle. He is just in the thick of it, trying to make his way through, and he is going straight through people to make his way into this next zone.
It'd be interesting to see how far he goes there. And of course, they're kind of working away around the mountain, so being on the low ground is not ideal as we're taking a peek on the high. My sweet, sweet Boba doing his best to survive with 4 limbs going to work right now. I think his teammate, Zerko, is still alive. And here it is. It's going to go right over that line as we hear some launch pads going off here, Ozzy.
This is so good for Steve and Pickle right now. The fact that Steve is still picking up eliminations, but the team on high ground is still on single-digit points. We've seen that high ground is the massive advantage. As I say that, though, we have Gust. You called it earlier, saved by that gust of wind earlier with the heavy snipe, playing it through to endgame. Beautiful shots there. And then we're back on with Sweep over on the high ground. He's in a not the best position, though. High ground's scary on that amount of health. If he gets knocked down, that shield is going to be pointless. He is going to be eliminated from fall damage if he's not careful. And they're slowly pushing through. Boba is fighting for it, and he holds on to it. Boba does hold on to the high ground. 7 points total right now. He racks up a few more there. 14 builds, running out of them, needs to be careful. We have 6 teams alive and 7 players, so this is almost all solos. There's only 1 duo in this lobby. You have to think they maybe have the advantage to close this one out, but it is going to be a solo spree. Who's the next person to go down? Whoever goes down now misses out. There it is. Dip missing out on those crucial top 5 placement points. Mackle picking up the elimination, and Gust is down here now with 6 eliminations, Slurpfish, and 2 minis.
Yeah, Derpy. Steve McSweaty, all gone. And Chai American and Zito, not here. So we're going to see someone moving up the leaderboard here, at least making himself getting closer and closer. And Boba was able to get some heals right there. And he's still sitting at the high. Mackle, Gus, Ness, Boba, and Speedy, all the remaining competitors right now. There's only 5 people left, 4 teams available here fighting for more points, and Gus is sitting on 25 elims, looking for an opportunity to try to sneak in get a shot with that green tack. It won't do a lot of damage, but if he gets that right angle, and Boba just sitting pretty, and there it is, Gus goes in! Green tack
more
and
than
all,
enough damage.
Gets Boba with more than enough damage as he called out. So now it is Gus on the high with 1 Slurpfish in his repertoire, and he's going to be able to get some more elims and more placement points and get himself closer and closer to the money.
Yeah, he's on the top. He has that Slurfish, which could come in clutch for a bit of a heal off, but you have to think that Speedy and Mackle, with the advantage in numbers, it's a duo right now. It's a 2v1v1. They've got it, but they're in the mid-ground layer. It's not the worst spot to be in. Nest has the grapple. If they can take this out, no, Nest with the upset comes up and takes down Speedy, which now puts Gust in a 1v1 situation. That was huge for Gust. He needed that. He needed that duo to have someone taken out. He gets to sit up the top and just let Nest do all the groundwork. Now he has the advantage. Close out, goes down toe-to-toe with a shotgun. Tack versus pump, and he manages to close it out with the tack with 2 beautiful shots, and Gus gets the elimination. But as far as the whole tournament goes, Speedy and Mr. Pickle, they were in there, but they were fine because this team that just won is now only on 30 points total.
Yeah, and there it is. Gus, who barely missed, got almost destroyed by the heavy sniper, and that's what's the beauty of Battle Royales, as you saw there, the butterfly effect of surviving that shot got you all the way to the victory royale. Let's take a look at those standings. As Ozzy mentioned, Gus himself getting those 30 points. Was it enough to get him in the money? And it looks like it was, coming in at 5th place as Kapler and Gus with 30 points. But as you see, Pickle having that great performance from his teammate Steve was able to survive as long as possible, now sitting with 53 points, and Zito and Chai American still holding on that 2nd place, keeping off the Texas A&M Aggies of Dylan and Derpy with 35. So not a great round for Dylan and Derpy, but still in the lead. But Mackle and Speedy, Speedy was able to hold on, and Mackle getting 33 points altogether. So that was a very big performance from Mackle and Speedy, getting themselves closer and closer to more cash there, Ozzy.
Yeah, and the name that I'm seeing straight away, I think it's a Naughty and Lace. I don't think they picked up any points that game, or if so, it was maybe 1 or 2. I'm just not going to call out any names to watch for here next game because there's just no way it's going to happen. There's just no point listening to me. But we have Stellar and Dead down there. They've been doing pretty well on 14, but top 20, 14 points. So it's going to be hard for these teams to jump up into that top 5, but because it's so top heavy in that top 2, money isn't out of the realms of possibility, I think, for anyone on this page here. It's probably going to be the next page where they're going to have a ridiculously massive pop-off performance going into the final game to even have a chance to jump up into the top 5.
Oh yeah, and this is where the final game things could just get ratcheted up a notch. Maybe nerves are, now by this time you should be focused in on doing what you need to do best. But I have to give the kind of like the reward for the most consistency through adversity. That's a really dope award. We should consistency through adversity, right? Okay.
Yeah.
There's no one in my room that I'm talking to, but consistency through adversity, and that has to be Pickles and McSweaty. They were able to, there were times where they were knocked down. There were times when they were solo. There were times where they had to perform on their own, and they're doing that, and that's why they have that top placement here today in the PlayVS champion and college championship featuring Fortnite. So this is going to be very interesting to see who could be the spoilers now. We talked about that. Okay, Ozzy, in NCAA, which is the collegiate sport, in March Madness, which is basketball. I got you, homie, which is basketball.
Thank you.
There is often spoilers that they could come in. There are a lot of upsets that they could happen. It'd be interesting to see who could upset the top 10 and who could even upset the top 5 going into our final game.
Well, the thing is, we talked about how these guys have played against each other for so long, so people know where they're dropping. So they know that he is at the stacks. They know our top team is at the stacks, and they're uncontested. If a decent team drops on them aggressively, I don't know if they have any enemies. I mean, this is college. It's Fortnite. There's always a bit of beef, like tempers run high. This is going to be the game to see it. They've managed to have Steamy, I think, uncontested every game until game 5, which scares me a little bit, because if they get contested now, they're a phenomenal team, but that's a spanner in the work that we haven't yet got to watch.
All right, let's take a look at the replays here for Game 4 and see how it all went down here at Weeping Woods. And here's the team that has coursed forever wherever they go by Ozzy and Anorti. He made the right play. He got in the box.
He did everything
but
right.
He got bopped right in the face as Noms and Burrito as well, finishing them out. But that was some big E-limbs there. We saw a lot of E-limbs here coming down to it, Ozzy, where it was like money E-limbs, right? Where you get yourself another couple $100 if you get. And look at that, Gus right there, actually getting some nice frags right there at the storm line. So yeah, it is very interesting to see how Gus, coming from the bottom of the circle, getting himself all the way up and surprising Boba, as we're about to see in that replay. And you called out Map and Speedy being the only duo there, unable to take advantage of having the numbers games on the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, he just made his way from bottom to top. That's all these replays are showing. It's just like a clean show of just Gus slowly going from bottom to top. He was on literally the low ground, sliding down a hill, gets in a limb. Next replay, he's like 2 layers up. Next replay, he's 1 layer from height. And then the last replay, he's on high ground. He just built his way through it. It's
like the little school flipper books. You never had one of those? You ever try to make one of those?
Yeah.
Man, I remember an old school one that someone did for Mortal Kombat, and I thought I could do that, but man, that takes forever. But Gus not taking any time getting that victory royale as we're getting set for Game 5 happening very, very soon. So we're seeing it'd be interesting to see how close it is at the from 1 to 2. But I know like 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's all like it could all just get flipped very, very easily at the drop of a dime here as we're getting everything ready to roll here. But I gotta say, Ozzy, I mean, you knowing what you know best in terms of the Fortnite competitive scene, what is it like going into Game 5? Have you seen a lot of major shakeups in your history as a caster, or does it pretty much stay consistent throughout the rest of the ride?
It's hard. I mean, this format, especially because it is that top 15, like you can make it so far into the game. But what I want to touch on competitively with these games of how Game 5 might look is I don't think I've seen games stay this consistently stacked or play out very similarly all the way through a tournament. Normally there are those massive change up. You have those players that just start going super aggressive, but that doesn't seem to be happening right now. Based on how many players we had at each zone for those first 3-4 games, it seems to be about the same. We're getting Storm Surge around the same time. time. So you might see the shakeup. We might see, again, like I said, that Booger moment where all of a sudden 3-4 people start dropping on the first place drop. Maybe they switch up their drop like Booger to affect that, but I don't think so. This is played out very clinically from start to finish. I think as much as I want a massive tumultuous finish, I think it's going to play out pretty steady, and Pickle and Steve are showing their consistency. I reckon they'll bring it home, but I've now said that, so they're definitely going to lose.
Oh no, let's hope not. But of course, you know, we saw the pages of the scoreboard there that the people with 0 or really low type of numbers there, they could be the ones that could be the upset. They could kind of, you know, play a little bit more aggressive. They could key into boxes a little bit more, trying to ruin a lot of these things. And that I think that's very interesting in terms of competitive play here of the battle royale genre. As most times is you get a bracket and leaderboard, and then it's just the best of the best. But the rest of the field is still in play. They could still be factors going into game 5 as we're waiting for everything to set up here. But they could still be a factor going into that final game.
Yeah, and we talked about bragging rights too. It's not just about the money for a lot of these guys as well. It is the bragging rights. This is season 0. Who's going to go into the next season being like, hey, I came 5th, or I came 8th, I came 20th, or I came last. I've got something to prove. So there is a lot in there just outside that top 5 as well. But I mean, it's also how much can you win by? I don't think in my competitive history, we've hyped up a team as much as we did Steve and Pickle, and them still perform to that level of hype. Like, I'm just always waiting for that time where at the start of the tournament, we talk about them, we mention them, we have these awesome stats that come on the screen, and then they just bomb. It's crazy to see them actually live up to the expectations that we built for them. So going into next season, if they can win today by an even more substantial margin, that is going to have an effect on the rest of the story of PlayVS.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that is a true thing. I mean, we'll always have our favorites. We'll see going into the future FNCS solos this weekend and see if those favorites were able to, you know, perform when the lights are on. And if a broadcast like ourselves highlight you and we tell everybody these people are very, very good, is usually sometimes it doesn't work out for them. So right now, the battle bus is getting going, and it's all about to happen here very soon. So in the chat, do not forget to make sure to visit playversus.com/college if you're interested in joining in, and follow Play versus PlayVS on their socials as well. Again, this is season 0. This is going to be a next season coming out in fall 2020 if you're interested in competing. And I touched on this early in the cast here, Ozzy, that a lot of these competitors, there were hundreds and hundreds of people that could not compete due to COVID-19, due to the pandemic that broke out. But these players that you see here stuck together, they worked together, they wanted to at least get season 0 off the ground, and they were able to do that today. So no matter what, they're all winners for at least having today's collegiate championship.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's affected things massively. I know even the struggles, again, I'm casting from very, very far away. The fact that people are banding together around this, and that's why esports is so great, and it's so cool to see Epic getting behind schooling and just different areas of bringing competitive Fortnite back. Because in times like this, I think Twitch and those social media platforms have really stepped up to have this much interaction and still bring these things together. I'm just going to take a guess here and say there's no other collegiate sports happening, right? In America, I mean, at least here there's not. So to have still something for these college kids to cheer on and get behind, even if esports maybe wasn't something they used to be involved with, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, major props to everyone involved in this.
And let's see who ends up stepping up here in game 5 as the battle bus is happening. Already the top 5 is almost set right now. The 1 and 2 is still up for grabs. We don't do that. Steve and Pickles have that high they just all of a sudden game 1 started slow, game 2, 3, 4 just like usual. Were able to do it like clockwork. So that's going to be interesting, a storyline that's developing. But I'm taking a look at the dark horse picks that we have as well. We were getting ready. Crispy and Smarty, we saw a little bit as well in the mix to see if they could do some things. But I'm very worried about the people that have 10 and below to being able to cause a big conflict for our top 5. I don't know, have you ever had that opportunity to ruin someone's run, or have you ever had a run ruined before there, Ozzy?
I mean, I've never been consistently good enough in competitive to have a run ruined. I think when it comes down to me playing a bit more safe, I don't think I've really ruined too many runs. I know in OCE, it's a very small region. It's hilarious when I'm able to take out one of those pros as the commentator, but we could be up for an upset. They almost had it last game. Steve managed to solo clutch it though. All
right, the time is now. It is time for game 5 here, the final game here of Play versus College Championship featuring Fortnite Season 0. It is going down, and let me take a look at our Prodigy analytics that is happening. The odds for first place for Pickle and Sweaty is 46%, but we cannot forget about Xeno Chi American, very close here with 37, and after that, Dylan and Speedy, they're very, very low chances of 5 to 4%. So right now, it could be a battle between 1 and 2 between Zito and Chai American and Pickle and Steve McSweaty.
Yeah, and so far I'm looking on the minimap and I've got a keen eye on that bottom right being like, is anyone going where they're going? And like people are going in that direction because it's quite far from the bus, but I don't think anyone's going there. So I think they might have this uncontested again. So we're not going to see that big upset, but I wanted to mention it, but I didn't want to hold up the battle bus anymore. The one thing that scares me about this team when you talked about upsets is Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle. That last 2v2 we saw from them when Pickle went down, that wasn't the cleanest mechanical plays from them. I saw Fuzzy Pickle get into a box, have his wall taken, and then take either a stair or a cone in his box both times, and he hardly reacted. So that does scare me just a little bit, that if they have that aggressive team push them, that's the first show I've seen of their real close range mechanics, because most of them have been playing safe till endgame. If you're that team who's really good at capitalizing endgame, but maybe your mechanics in the mid game aren't as strong, that is scary going into game 5.
Yeah, it looks like it is the same kind of landing here for Chai American and Zito. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get into that first place. It's going to require still a big pop-off game for them as the curse continues for Osiris and his squad as they get eliminated as well. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing right here, uncontested drops is the story of the college championship. Having that, and you know what? They kind of earned that respect. You know what I mean? That they earned that respect of having that, you know, this is our place. Do not come in and do not mess around here with us.
Yeah, I mean, they have that level of respect. No one wants to walk anywhere near them, which maybe lends to my point of them not being as mechanically gifted. Maybe it was just that one fight we watched, because clearly these players who would know them better than me, they've versed and they've gone toe-to-toe with them, are clearly respecting their mechanics. So it maybe just been that one fight we watched, but we'll have to see. Either way, no major upsets for them. And it'll be interesting to see where Zone goes. It looks like, we see Gust. So interesting that Gust is also on this north side of the map too. So we have two of the teams that have been performing quite well now, both on the northern map, very close together. So it could be a huge upset if either of these teams actually interact with each other. As we see the stats here for Capelor and Gust, they have 2 wins and they're coming 13th overall on that. Season points 330, which puts them at 3rd. So they maybe didn't get too many wins, but they've been picking up some serious points with a qualifier points per game average of 7.86, which, I mean, if they can stick to that average now, that's going to hopefully keep them and secure them into the money range.
Yeah, absolutely. And take a look at it from the University of Central Florida, which is a big-time university out there. They're kind of like, you know, they make some noise when they play out in the college world, but right now, Gus and Kapler made some noise in the previous round, got some 2 wins to their names. But I want to talk about right now what PlayVS is doing in the collegiate scene. I mean, this is really cool, especially working with Epic, you know, having that bond right there. It's going to operate as the only official collegiate Fortnite league in the world. You know, PlayVS Collegiate Fortnite is more than just a tournament. It's a league that offers complete seasons of competition, and it is a tight-knit community. We mentioned it. All these guys have been competing for 9 weeks, and they get that sense of competition. It's more of a season, and it's not just a one-off, you know, match here. And especially what's really cool is with that direct integration into Fortnite's event service. You know, when it pops up, when you log in, you see that little thing pop up. You're gonna get the best possible experience for all players in academic esports to compete with other collegiate players across the United States. So that's what's really cool about PlayVS. Again, you want to know about it, go to playvs.com. So that's college, and taking a look at it for the first time, we're gonna get a South zone here. It's kind of like going to be Lazy Lake. Maybe it goes over Misty Meadows. We saw that once of the FBS. What do you mean? I've just got to put that in, but this is going to be
your eyes on water. It's like, there's water. Please end there on the water.
Yes, please. But this is the first time that the team that won a game that has had at least 10 eliminations, showing that these teams came out to play. And again, it's the final game. I mean, when $5,000 is on the line, get up for that lion's share. And every elim gets you $100, possibly $1,000. That's crazy sauce.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, this is money too. Like, I don't know about you. When I would have taken a few $1,000s for playing video games for sure for free when I was at university. That could have justified a little bit more. My parents still on my case. You're playing too many video games. Hey, I'm about to earn thousands of dollars, and look at all the clout I'm getting. So, I mean, I love the fact they're integrating. It's very cool, especially in this time when you have that extra free time. You can't go see your friends, but you can play with them. You can verse them, and hopefully these guys have their friends cheering them on right now, watching the stream and stuff. It's crazy. It's bringing everyone together. And that's why we love Fortnite so much. As we see Dylan and Derpy in a bit of an exchange, not going as well as it normally does for them, only has the minigun in the inventory, and the vault is still closed. That's always the indicator. So he has the minigun, but they don't have the vault opened, which means that either Derpy's carrying the card or somehow he didn't pick up the card off Brutus, but only the gun. This is a big engagement for them, and one of those fights we said that could maybe change up the whole tournament.
Yeah, already that we're seeing the top 6 and 7 have been eliminated in this final game. So no doubt, I mean, Dylan and Derpy, we talked about the inconsistencies of being at these mythical hotspots that sometimes it gets too hot for you and your run is over. So this is the most I've seen them kind of struggle to get out of this POI cleanly as we see Jinkies line up the Elim floor. But I've seen that Grotto looks kind of busy right now. So I think a lot of teams realizing how important having that minigun and decided to mix it up. As we on board here with Derpy, he actually does have the vault card. So I think they're just taking their time to make sure that no one's around to steal the spoils of that. On board here with Mackle and Spitty from Carnegie Mellon University, home of the Tartans. So they're all being represented here. It's a little bit of a very close. You know, they kind of made a big showing in game 4. They were the last duo alive. So no doubt they're making their way up the top 5.
Yeah, 33 points, and we said that 6 and 7's out of there, so that top 5 is really, really up for anyone around those points now, and Grotto was looking really hot, so the henchman on the minimap sometimes throws that off. Those white triangles aren't players, but that was still, I think, 3, or I was trying to count even maybe 4 duos of Grotto. Even 3, if you haven't got into the vault yet, is enough to make it a crazy fight. We're tuning in now with Nylander and Lou. They're just outside having this fight. I believe that looks like Pleasantness is towards Homely Hills. So this team from Homely Hills is rotating in. It's not a POI, but it has quite a fair bit of loot at it to give you the same feeling as a POI. Epic pump in hand for Nylander. He's building up for it if he can try and put it to use. And he gets knocked down and takes a fair bit of damage on the way down too. Gets him on his wall. He needs to go out the top if he can. He's trying to find the edits. He needs to find his way out. He has got an aggressive player on his heels. I'm not quite sure who it is. It's Stella on his heels. The 57 tag with that purple pump. Stella would have heard that. It is a very iconic sound. You hear that purple and legendary pump, it makes you slow down real quick, as we're seeing here from Stella.
Yeah, Stella and Dead sitting around the top 20 or so. So they're on the outside looking in, but this is what we're talking about. The upset that they could ruin Lou and Nylander's run here as the Spartans, they're doing their best to hold ground and get this Elim, as now Dead is on his heels, retreating as much as possible. Down the whites, Dead is now eliminated right there in a big Elim, but his partner is spraying from the high as he now picks up that 50 HP from that Elim right there. So that's going to be a big pickup there for the Michigan State Spartans as they're doing their best to survive. Now they're having a nice, good old-fashioned storm fight here, Ozzy, as Lou and Nylander are trying to get rid of the partner of Dead. Stellar, rocking from the University of Illinois, the fighting alumni here, doing their best to be the spoiler for the Spartans. Yeah, he's a pexy little guy, a little pesky there.
Oh, he gets the shots through as well. Lose on 1 health. There it is. Has 3 med kits, and he goes down to 1 health. No time to get off. Nylander and Stella in a close range AR engagement. Nylander maybe pushing through. It's a 1-tick storm, so Lou's got plenty of time to survive. He has the 3 med kits. It comes down to this, though. Nylander trying to find his way through. Edits come out. Stella's going back up onto the high ground. He needs to get a wall and end this quickly. Takes the wall. There it is. Messes up the edit. Stella up against the wall. Places the floor to block him off. The positioning, that box fight was incredible. Stella picks up the elimination with those med kits and those extra meds he has. He could get his teammates reboot card and go reboot him, and they should still be fine.
Yeah, and Lou and Nylander were in the top 6, so that was a big elim, and their run is over here in the final game of the college championship. That is massive, man. They were really close to getting a couple more points. They would have got a little bit higher up there, and that is going to be the end of the run, and no doubt out of the money. So that's what I'm talking about, the upsets that could happen when you're so close to placing. You go up against a squad like Dead and Stellar right there, but on board here, Broad in Asian, as they got some more Michigan State Spartans, the second Michigan State Spartan team. And now Scarpy is really low here, Ozzy, and Broad is doing the best impression here, and Ozzy, they're going to go ahead and pinch this guy right here, but let's see if this Spartan could do the same thing that Stellar did on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, trying to pinch the Spartan should be interesting. Carpsy's on the ultimate low ground, not looking the greatest for effective health and shield. He might be able to pull something off. We saw then, I like the play there when he was inside the cone. He came out with a shot, so he's playing defensive, but he still knows when he needs to take his advantage, and no, he goes down. Bode managing to take him down in the 1v1. Asian running around, can't find him, but doesn't need the backup. Here we have Derpy and Dylan, one of those upsets. Phoenix is hanging around nearby. They're inside their cones. Good spot right now. He can see through this cone. We can't with a spectator client, but he can see out through that cone, trying to get that information. But It's going to be a pretty interesting fight there. That's going to be one to look out for changing up that top 5 massively. Do they walk away with Grotto Loot and the Vault, or do they go down and that's it for their PlayVS Season 0 run?
Looking up to the feed right now, Zito and Chai American still alive, getting up some elims, getting some more points right there. Rhino getting rid of the prediction of from Ozzy. Nordy is out and his run is over right there.
No one had to notice.
And now here's Chai American and Zito, who had the big pop-off game in game 1. They kind of went back to the mean of the average of their playstyle, but that was enough for them to at least have a top 3 finish. So they have 46 points. They're doing their best to get higher and higher, but that's what I'm talking about. The game 1 is so important. You could have a pop-off game and you could struggle the rest of the way, but at least you'll be very in contention for big money.
Yeah, that first game was a big pop-off game. That's one of the biggest pop-off games I've seen. Once we saw their statistics of that was their first win in the last 10 weeks, including today, of competition, and it's with over 20 eliminations. That was just them playing out of their mind. So it's going to keep them up there. They might have this, maybe a second big game, less eliminations already, but we have Arrow and Clark. They need a big game to get any points here. They have 8 points total, trying to pinch this fight, using the Harpoon to break the walls. 2 players in the box is always a scary spot to be in, because when they edit you, you have 2 shotguns looking out versus 1. But Clark was on the backside, gets the edit as well. So now it's Clark versus Berkey, and Arrow has gone down. They need to try and pull something off. It's a 1v1, only 60 health, no shield coming through. Can he get the finish? He does. That's the 50 shield, but now he's on his walls. Clark's got to push away though. Enemy has all the edits, all the walls there. He baited him in for that finish. Berkey wanting to finish it off, and no, we're tuning back in now with Zito and Chai American, and there it is. Chai American gets the elimination. Look at the loadout, though. That is a big elimination if I've ever seen one. That is the holy grail of loot on the ground right there.
It's the first time I actually see Meowscles' assault rifle there.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see, as Berkeley has no teammate now. So, yeah, Chai American and Zito, they're at least getting the bigger lead from third place, and as they got themselves a nice little supply drop, which is a guaranteed launch pad. It's going to be a big-time resource. And you know what? I haven't seen a lot of C4 after they limit the amount they drop in that you can carry. So, they only limited the stack, I'm sorry. So now you only have 1 stack versus the 3 that was previously that you could get. But yeah.
So oppressive.
Yeah.
That 3 stack was just, you'd be all set. You're ready for the game, especially me trying to get to endgame. My mechanics aren't the greatest. So if I'm at endgame, I'm vibing, I'm in my spot, and then I just hear this beeping sound. Oh, I have nightmares about that beeping sound now. So I'm quite happy to see it single stack. Still some interesting uses though. We saw it in solo FNCS. Some interesting fights break out because people are so not used to people running the C4. They were able to pull it off.
Yeah, and again, guys, Season 0 is only the beginning for Play versus Collegiate. Season 1 starts in fall 2020 and will include more games, more rewards, and even more schools. You can join today at playversus.com/college. That is what is up right there, Ozzy. But look at Chang, King, and King Rhino. I mean, they had that one disconnect game, so they're doing their best to kind of get their footing again. But they are competing against our top 2 duo, Zito and Chai American, who are third partying at the right time in this engagement, as looks like Strap does go down. So now this is the perfect time as Rhino and Chai American, as Rhino is able to take that high ground and King have that high ground. So Zito and Chai American have to be dangerous because King and Rhino were in the top 10. So this is not a duo that you can mess around with right now. So early in Circle 3.
It's going to be such a big fight. This would be one of the biggest fights to upset that top 5 right now. There it is on his wall. There needs to be careful. Don't think he realized the enemy has the wall behind him. There it is. Did not realize. Catches him by surprise. Comes through and takes him down. Cheng taking down Chai American. Oh my gosh, this is one of our top 2 teams now out in this one here. Possibly Zito has to pull off something massive on 48 points. Like you said there, Cheng, a team that's not doing so well today, but having a massive impact on that top 5 standings. Now it turns out, and it looks like Zito wants to disengage, hold on to their points. We have OG King and Rhino now in the 2v1 against Zhang. That was huge. Oh, and the edit comes down as well. Zhang's down. There it is. They pick up the elimination, but the big story there, Zito has to solo clutch. Can he pull off the Steve special when he managed to solo clutch up those extra points for him and Pickle? Or is that going to be it? Is it now Steve and Pickle's tournament?
At least King gives him the love, as we're now on board with our current leaders of Steve McSweaty and Fuzzy Pickle. That's right. Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty are in the lead with 55 points here in the Play versus College Championship featuring Fortnite. I am Sancho West alongside with Aussie Antics. If you want to hit us up on the socials, as Derpy and Dylan are getting hit up right now as they're trying to make their way into Lazy Lake territory. It looks like the water will be a factor here. My dreams and wishes come true at the expense of this lobby, as Derp and Dylan are doing their best to survive. Smarty and Crispy is one of the stars as well, as we kind of point them out as being one of the dark horses early on, according to what we have here. But now it's interesting to see how well Pickle and Steve McSweaty could close this out. It's kind of be a closeout game to put their final touches on this dominating. I would say a dominating, but we'll just say they've been kind of dominating in this tournament so far. Not really been close or touched. They have a big commanding lead, at least 10 points, which is kind of huge, as you mentioned, considering Elims are only worth 1 point.
Yeah, Limbs are worth 1, and you got to get that top 15. Top 15 worth 3, top 10 worth 2, top 5 2, and then the win 3. So when you add that up, that's just only over 10 points there. So you need the win with no eliminations to get that around 10 points to get on top. So it's going to be super interesting to see how they play this one out. But they definitely saw that in the feed. They know that their competitor is now pretty much solo. If they can spot eyes on him or they can keep watching that feed, they know they can slow down the pace too. If there was a duo that had a massive pop-off game 1, you know they've got those 20 elim wins in their back pocket. Seeing them go down in the feed will now change their playstyle. I guarantee they've slowed up. Okay, it's ours to lose now. If we even get top 5, we're pretty much guaranteed the win.
And on board with Pickle again. And Steve, this is their opportunity to get the lion's share of $5,000. The Firebirds from Kirtland Community College right here outside of Roscommon County in Michigan. Only about 5,000 students in there. So, you know, they're probably the big mans on campus running around the Fortnite world, but the school itself does not have a dedicated esports program at this time. But so they're basically playing without PlayVS, and they would not have a way to compete without them. So they would basically, we would not know who they are without the stage that PlayVS is giving them today.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, when you said, I saw that graphic we brought with more schools, how many schools do you guys have? Like, I can almost name, like, I think we have like 10 major universities in our entire country. So it's crazy to hear you know this much about so many teams and just have so many different colleges and universities to bring them all on board. I can't wait to see what season 1's going to look like if there's more schools coming into this.
Literally Division 1, Division 2.
Yeah.
We have community college roles and so many different community colleges in every major city. But taking a look at it, there's no cities in this storm right here. It's all going to be landscapes and mountains, which is we've been seeing a little bit here. But talk about, Ozzy, how do the mountains come into a big factor here for our competitors as they have to navigate it? This kind of reminds me of the throwback of the old school mountains around Pleasant Park and Tilted Towers from the first chapter.
Yeah, it gives you that massive high ground advantage as we see Fuzzy Pickle trying to do some damage to those players on that advantage. So it just gives you a really nice high ground without having to use too many materials. And then if you get any of those half-halves, those first rotating zones, we've seen it time after time today. That team that's perched up on that ultimate high ground can just unleash on everyone around them. As Dylan gets unleashed on, Derpy makes the rotate a little bit in front of him. Dylan gets caught off. Derpy inside his full builds, has to solo clutch now too. So there's a lot of teams in contention for that top 5 who are now either out or soloing. So this is not going their way towards the end, but is very much going the way of Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the future of Pickle and Steve McSweaty. We talked about it earlier. They've been together since season 1. They're real lifelong friends, friendship. The power of friendship of the best friends is proving true here today as Derpy is missing his friend right now. He's all by himself sitting with 35 points, and it may mathematically be impossible for anyone to catch up to Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty, but they're sitting here and they're going to continue to play out, showing how top professionals they are as Boa does pick up an Elim on Stellar. So this is what I'm talking about. They get high ground early and they get a lot of damage on the server. They kind of play their game and they just chill and they wait for the perfect opportunity. They feel like they're very comfortable of playing a low ground, play any situations, and I think with those factors there, Ozzy, no doubt they're going to maybe walking away at number 1 here at the college championship.
You have to. If you want to have this level of consistency, no matter how good you are mechanically, you need to play every facet of endgame. You need to be able to know your game plan, whether you're not on height, whether you're on low ground, whatever's happening. You have to be as consistent as they are. And this edit's come through. I'm talking about flashy mechanics, beautiful mechanics here for Jar Crispy and Smarty, showing they have the ability to, but that's what shows. They've got 25 points. He can end fights and they can take these fights, but you need to have that game sense, that knowledge of consistently making it to endgame and getting as many points as you can. Having one flopper now, a nice little upgrade. They're close to half-half. We see all the launch pads going out, everyone flying into this next zone. We have Chilean going for the high ground here on the right, trying to take down Go Hugh, who has a chance to maybe try and get him some money today. They're on the high ground up there and all the brick. They're looking in a beautiful position. Fuzzy Pickle and Steve also made the rotate in the bottom left of your screen. So a lot of the big names still in this, but a lot of the big names are trying to do it solo.
Yeah, Mackle and Speedy are sitting in the top 4, so they're kind of inching their way up. They're trying to get at least more money. Every elim from them is going to be a couple $100, and here is our second place all alone solo Zito sitting with 2 elims in this matchup here, but he has a decent kit. I think he just has to lay low, work his way slowly. As you can see here, he's kind of tunneling as best as opportunity as possible. Just gets in here, and I think does he have a big rotation here? I can't exactly see. No, he's sitting right there.
No,
he has
good.
A great zone right here. You see a lot of competitors kind of like go up for the high ground, but I'm thinking considering he's by himself, he may just lay low here and let the circle come to him as best as possible. But he does have 2 pads. I can see the number 2 very, very small. I think he has 2 pads in his inventory, so he has a lot of options to doing a short pad, or he could definitely save that last in pad to at least compete for high ground.
Yeah, he's got the 3 floppers too, which you can't. When you're a solo, floppers is like the absolute currency. The ability to box off, sit in storm, know that even if a duo is on your walls, they have to keep going forward or they're going to get taken out. Gives you such a good position. I talk about good positions. Go Hugh Owens up here. He has the drum gun, but not really the ammo to put it to use. Only had 16 AR bullets in his AR and only had that 40 that was in his drum gun clip. Needs to be careful. Zito getting an elimination as he then gets the communal launch pad. Saves the 2 that he has with the floppers. Zito, after that flash in the pan game they had, showing that he does know what he's doing end game and he can handle himself. Solo clutching this one out on the low ground, finds a nice little 1x1 ultimate load, doing exactly what Sancho was mentioning there, getting off the high ground and making sure he can just hold out. And Gus just picked up 2 eliminations in the feed, taking down Mackle and Speedy, so he took eyes off them for a second and they're out of there. No chance for top 5 unless one of these teams in the top chokes right now.
Nothing like being on low ground. I always say it's my home, is my place. But Scroll Wheel and Go Hugh are another big game from them. They did really well in game 4. They have the high ground, and that's going to be a big factor as they're kind of like pinging back and forth between these mountains here, and a lot of pads are going out. A lot of people
Speedy's gone down. Sorry, Sancho, to cut you off. Speedy is actually out of this one now, so Fuzzy Pickle has to solo clutch this one. Maybe we get a perspective, but Zito is just railing on low ground, takes down Derpy, another team pushing that top 5. But yes, we apparently have Speedy out of this, so Pickle has to try and do something massive on the solo clutch. I can't get eyes on him, but Scroll Wheel on the high ground trying to close it out too. So there it is. Steve just went down in the feed to Smarty. This is going to be massive. Fuzzy Pickle, though, I say needs to do something big. Takes down Jar Crispy and Smarty. Bit of payback. Take down my teammate. Gets 2 eliminations for it, which closing in on this. Yes, now top 10. You can see there's top 10 teams alive, so he's made a good amount of placement points. I think it's his to win, but can he solo clutch it? Time to get the minis off, maybe with a bandage cannon up against the wall. He's going to push out into the firing line. Where is it? Chilean's in front of him. Shots come out. No, he goes down. Chilean takes him out, and we're back with Scroll Wheel on the high ground.
I think the sound of the bandage bazooka let Chilean know that there's someone weak behind them, and all he had to do was just turn around, and he ends the run for Pickle there, or a Stevie there, ending that there. But taking a look at the high ground, no doubt there's going to be a dominant. Ooh, you got to be careful there. He knows he's going to take that damage here, but I got to hand it out for Zito. He did really well on the low ground. He's not alive right now, but he had some big-time plays, and it's all coming down to here, right here. Ozzy Rhino takes a pad up. He's going to be able to sky so high as King and Rhino going up against Berkeley.
They have to pad into this one, so a bit of a weird pad there. You wouldn't say it too much, but it's a 2v1 situation. Berkey has to do something massive. He's only got 5 builds left. Has the purple pump, trying to find their angle here. OG King's taking shots from above. I don't think he's going to be able to hold this one off, but he might be able to. 1v2. Purple pumps the gun to do it. He's reloading that heavy sniper. You can see through the walls. He needs a big pump shot, but no, he takes it. It's whittling down his health. He's down to 15. No builds left. No time to get minis off. These are his edits. Can he do something massive? Needs a huge pump, and no. Walks out into Rhino's huge shotgun, and there it is. OG King and Rhino coming back with a big game that could have jumped him up in a top 5.
Yeah, look at these replays right here. Berkeley doing his best to dance edit around, doing what he can do. He had piece control, just not enough. The numbers were overwhelming him, and King and Rhino get that free crank here at the college championship. Again, welcome everybody. My name is Sancho West with Aussie Antics. That was the final game that we saw right there, and what a wild ride that was, seeing so many of the top 10 actually eliminating each other.
Yeah, we talked about upsets, like those players on the low points coming up and creating an upset. It was the opposite. It was just all those teams in the top 10 getting in so many scuffles and going backwards and forwards. And when you think about the amount of points you gain from hitting placements and an elim, but then stopping the team that's one maybe placement ahead of you, it's massive.
Yeah, and we'll see that right here in the standings. Let's take a look at them right now, as a lot of teams were ending others' runs, especially in the top 10. And your champion is Fuzzy Pickles and Steve McSweaty coming in with 65 points. Zito and Chai American able to hold on to their second place with 54. They got that massive 30-point game there, Ozzy, and that really helped them out. And of course, the Texas A&M Aggies, Dylan and Derpy with 39 points. But surprisingly, Go Hugh and Squirrel just sneaking up there, getting that money for that fourth place finish with 36, and Kavler on Twitch and Gus getting that big victory in game 4, closing out the top 5 here for the money.
Yeah, so they managed to do it. Rhino and OG King were so close, 2 points behind, so even the win wasn't enough to get it for them. We see some of those other teams, Noms, Burrito, a lot of people have been creating a lot of upsets, doing a lot of damage. And Naughty and Lace, I'm sorry, I predicted you to maybe win a game, and from then you didn't get a single point. Just too good of a predictor. I'm sorry. It's in my arsenal now. Nanolo and Rubizzle, we tuned into them a few times, dropping frags, but all these players still, like you said, they gained some experience. It's not just about that top 5 or nothing. Those games played out insanely well right to the end. Normally when players, I see a lot of comp players see, oh, I'm not in the chance of the money. They just give up entirely or play differently. All credit to these players. They stuck to their game plans and played so well right to the very last minute.
Yeah, taking a look at the rest of the standings again, these are your top 50 collegiate Fortnite duos here. This is an amazing, just because you didn't place in the money, that doesn't mean you're a top team, not a top team. You're one of the best out there in the college world. So hang your head high. Your run doesn't finish here. We've been doing so much research for FNCS Sulos. We've been seeing so many players who place really high in different events. They eventually get to better and better as time goes on. So take this as a victory. You did it. You're season 0. You're one of the best. So don't go away feeling empty-handed, so to speak.
Yeah, you made it into the first finals. Everyone always remembers the OGs there. You got season 0, you made it to the finals. We'll have to see, but season 1 looks like it's going to maybe end up more stacked, more schools, and even more people being brought in. Those games were incredible. Like, I would expect that from full just an NA East FNCS tournament. So the fact that's only college people, and then you're going to bring more into that, I'm so excited for season 1.
And the most exciting thing as well, I'm excited for, is that we have an interview coming up very soon with the winners here of the Play versus College Championship. As soon as we get that, we'll get that right to that. But yeah, man, I have to say that it's very interesting to see how it all goes down in the future of season 1 and going on further. Of course, different titles coming up. So let's go ahead and see what's happening. I think we have them on the line right here in Discord. Again, congratulations, and we're getting it very, very soon. It's very happy. It's just, we got to make sure we're getting everything working. I think we got one of the duos.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this production has been incredible, so thank you so much for everyone involved in this one as well, like PlayVS reaching out, Prax Server, Epic Games being involved. Like, the gameplay quality today has been exceptional, and I think we're excited for an interview. We don't often get to do these interviews, Sancho, and the fact we can now do it remotely, talk to the winners, and kind of get an idea of what was their game plan, how did it play out. I want to hear the mindset of these two insanely consistent players.
Absolutely, and we're going to get that very, very shortly. And they're taking away the lion's share of $5,000, which is a big time, which is going to be able to add to their, I guess, professional careers in terms of the overall. So we may be seeing the budding start for a pro player, and that's what's really cool about Play Versus, is starting up the collegiate thing going into professional. And if you want to join in, make sure you go to playversus.com/colleges, activate yourself for fall 2020. That's what I'm talking about. This is only season 0. Get ready for the next season in fall 2020. And again, and it's not just going to be about Fortnite. There's going to be future ones in different titles and different games and different opportunities, not just in gaming, but around the world of the gaming industry. We could talk about social and things like that, but we have at least Fuzzy Pickle on the line. Let's go ahead and get to one half of our winners. Fuzzy Pickle, are you there? How you doing today? And congratulations of being the first ever college championship here featuring Fortnite.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
Yeah.
How's it going, mate? How'd you go? So we obviously saw, we mentioned a few times you guys dropped spot. You had Steamy completely uncontested. Was it always like that during your weeks leading up to the finals, or did you have to kind of fight for it and get that drop?
During the weeks that people were dropping there, and then we kind of pushed them out of the way for the weeks. Then
Yeah,
they just
so
quit
that's
landing.
So that's what I was noticing, that they it seems like the lobby gave you respect in terms of you earned that respect. One thing I want to talk about, there's a lot of instances in today's games that you were kind of on the ropes a little bit. Were you all frazzled, or you've been there before and you just let your experience take over there?
Yeah, I've been there before for duos FNCS, and I know like what to expect. So I just kind of played and pushed. Like I was kind of like nervous a little bit at first, and then the first couple of games, and then I just kind of honed down and let my aiming do the talking.
Yeah. I mean, because you said that that first game did play out a little bit slow for you guys. You saw them drop like a 30-point something game. Did you then see that on the leaderboard and think, okay, we need to pick up the pace a little bit? Yeah, it's finals now, but these guys are clearly able to do it, so maybe we can too. Did seeing them on the leaderboard change your game plan, or was it just you thought we had a slow game one, let's pick it up?
Yeah, we noticed like we were just playing too safe, and we just needed to, take high ground, look for height, instead of just boxing up and just playing for the end game.
So what about, I know you come from Kirtland Community College. What was your schedule like prepping for this? Like, especially with being, with COVID-19 and all those kinds of things, throwing a wrench into a lot of the tournament and going forward. But how was your daily schedule prepping for today's championship?
I had a lot of online classes before COVID-19, so I only went to school for 2 days a week, and that switched to online once COVID came. So like my days wasn't really switched much.
Okay. And then talk about your competitive history. You just mentioned Duo FNCS there, how you kind of had your game plan for that. So we obviously spun the story. Have you guys been playing competitively since basically... Oh, we have Steve now as well. Steve, welcome as well. Might as well direct this question at you. I know you just tuned in. Don't know if you were listening as well. So is it true you guys have been pretty much playing together since season 0 or season 1, correct?
Yeah, correct. We played forever.
Jeez. That's crazy. And then was it always competitive? Like when did you guys get into competitive as a duo?
During the World Cup or whatever, like the first couple of weeks of World Cup, we just decided to play and we did pretty good. So we just clicked together and then just kept playing together.
Jeez.
So what is going to be the future for this duo? I mean, where do you see yourself in Fortnite competitive going forward?
We feel like we're a really good duo that is like not really known, but we can definitely perform with the best, we think.
I mean, I'll say so. Like, I mean, the same thing. I follow NA a fair bit. I'm going to be fully transparent. Hadn't heard about you guys too much till coming into today, and we're getting the stats, and it was just like how much you guys were destroying every single week. I think this is a good platform to do it. I mean, for me watching, I watched FNCS. I've casted it so many times. You guys looked like a top tier team, 100%. Have the confidence going forward that you guys can hang with the best for sure.
So I have a quick question in terms of now I guess it must be on everybody's mind that is currently watching at home. What are the plans for walking away with the lion's share of $5,000? Are you going to invest it in a rig, or are you going to invest it in a stream setup, or are you just going to get some snacks? Well, what's the plans for that lion's share of the $5,000?
I might save most of it, but upgrade my PC, possibly some parts from the PC. I might upgrade.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Nice. That's very cool. I mean, first thing that went to my mind was like, how much ramen can you buy with that? I don't know, like, what you guys are like compared to my college days, but geez, that was the first thing that I thought about. But yeah, I mean, was there anything that you guys is there any game at any point where you thought that maybe you kind of slipped off the pace, or was it after that game 1, they stepped up, and then game 2, you kind of came back with it? Steve, like, I mean, a few times there, you guys had to solo clutch it up. Did you have any moment where you were a bit worried about it, or you felt pretty calm and in control the whole time?
I was pretty confident like the whole time until the last game. We got pushed by a team like early mid game, so I was kind of nervous in that fight, but we ended up killing them, which was like a huge confidence boost in the last game.
No doubt your confidence stepped in and it got you into the first place here for the Play versus College Championship. So you guys got anything that you want to plug, any opportunity, your socials, and you let the world know who you are? I mean, you walked into this tournament with no one knowing who you are. Now you're known. So what do you got to say to the rest of the world watching right now?
My Instagram is Steve McSweaty, so check that out. Give it a follow.
Nice.
Look at the
content. Plugs, man.
My Twitter is FuzzyXPickle. I want to say thank you to like all the PlayVS like staff. They've been, Billy and Zach. They've been really helpful, and they've communicated with us like throughout the whole entire season. It's been lots of fun.
Nice, awesome. Now, you guys are going to bring it back for season 1 as well. Obviously, it's kind of coming back. You got your mantle to hold on to next time. Do you think you're going to be able to perform as well next time, or bring some more schools and it might be a little bit tougher?
Right now, we got to figure out like what school, because we went to community college and it's our second year, so we need to figure out a new school.
Okay, cool. I mean, maybe you get to be the 100% win rate, and then you get to move on and maybe leave the mantle for someone else.
I mean, they could go to Michigan State. They could go to University of Michigan. There's so many options for this duo, but no doubt you guys showed out. Congratulations again for being our first ever PlayVS college championship. Congratulations to, and again, I have to say this with a straight face, Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. Congratulations, you two.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Well, that is pretty much wraps it up here today for an exciting 5-game series that we see 9 weeks of competitive play wrapping up into this crazy game. So again, you mentioned it a little bit before, Ozzy, but there is more opportunities coming down the line. How do you get involved for fall 2020, Ozzy?
Yeah, if you want to join up fall 2020, you have the playverse.com/college. That's where you get all the information on this one. It's playvs.com/college. That's how you can activate for fall 2020. If you enjoyed today, you want to be involved in season 1, or you want to come back and watch it, make sure you check out that website. Follow their socials as well, twitter.com/playvs. I think they have that across all socials. Definitely check them out. And chuck a follow on the Twitch channel as well. All the broadcasts are going to be up here, and it's not just Fortnite. There's multiple titles coming down the line as well.
Yeah, so if you want to step up, it is time to go ahead and sign up. And that's what I'm talking about. My name is Sancho West, alongside with Aussie Antics. Thank you so much for all your support, and thank you for being out there. And congratulations to Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty on your championship.